last season. That was their first year. They won only one game. They got beat in their first contest last week. They come into a tough spot. What kind of a situation or a opportunity are they walking into tonight?
I think if you're the head coach, Joe Prudhomme, it's when you're starting a program without any previous history, you're looking to improve week to week. It's a very overused cliche for coaches, but when you really don't have a context of who you are as a program, you just want to be better than 42-7, which was the score they lost to against the Coyotes of Kansas Wesleyan in their home opener. You want to show that you've got more of an offense than just Donovan Isom's touchdown run in the first quarter. After that first quarter touchdown, they didn't score again. So improvements from last week, that's the mindset that I'm sure they have coming into tonight.
Now, one of the things that they have in their favor is they have a really athletic guy playing quarterback in Donovan Isom. This guy we talked about in the pregame, 6'5", goes about 250, can run the ball, was the lone touchdown scorer in that first game against Kansas Wesleyan. And it's almost like, in a way, like when you're defending or preparing for a triple option team, and that you can't really duplicate that. You can't really duplicate having to go against a 250-pound guy who's 6'5" under center, and that gives this team kind of a unique advantage heading into any game.
Yeah, this is someone who he went 9 for 20 a week ago with 2 interceptions and 100 yards passing. So someone who is not a very good thrower, just starting off. So you hope the opportunities for turnovers will present themselves to the Javelinas tonight. But again, other than the numbers from last week, we don't really have much information on how much of a thrower or how good of a thrower that Donovan Isom is, and at least we'll get a chance to see that tonight. Yeah,
it should be mentioned, Wesleyan really played 2 quarterbacks last week. Avery Childs came in and actually threw more passes than Isom. He was 13 to 26 in that game. But Isom is at least projected to be the starter in this contest. And you're right, you have a young team like this with a quarterback who's a senior, who you don't know much about, but like you said, turn the ball over a couple times, and you would hope that the Javelinas would have would be able to put some pressure on him, put him in a difficult situation where he might make some poor decisions. Now Wesleyan and the Javelinas just got done with the coin toss. Are you prepared to kick things off here at Javelina Stadium? 4 captains for the Javelinas: Corey Detmer Jr., Caleb Valentine, Devontae Williams, and Ro Posada head out there. And Wesleyan winning the toss, and they elected to receive the opening kickoff. And it will be Julio De La Garza who boots it away. Keys to this game for Texas Wesleyan: if you are this Rams squad, how do you come in and try and spring the upset? What are the things you need to do well, or that you just need to do in order to try and get a win?
You can't turn the ball over. I mean, that's something they did last week against the Coyotes. We mentioned with Isom specifically, but you're on the road. You're going up against a team that was this close to dethroning the #1 preseason team in Division II. You have to play clean football, and it's a difficult thing to do when you have all these people in the stands, and it's the first game of the season at home for Texas A&M-Kingsville. But that's first and foremost. That's objective 1 for the Rams.
To your point, I think A, that's correct, but B, I also think that they need to take some chances in this game, and maybe that's one of the things that makes upsets like the one they're trying to pull so difficult, is you kind of need to fit it into, you have to be in this space where you're aggressive, but you don't make too many big mistakes. It has to kind of fit into this small little, area where you're taking chances, but at the same time, you're not giving up turnovers, you're not making stupid mistakes. And the analogy I would draw to that, this Javelina team last year, their last road game, they went to Western New Mexico. Western New Mexico had a difficult year last year, but that was a senior day game they were hosting, was the last game, obviously, for their senior squad. They took chances all day long, onside kicks, trick plays. They blocked a punt in that game, and they were able to get a win. I think for Texas Wesleyan, taking advantage of opportunities like that is something they're going to need to do. De La Garza boots it deep, and the kickoff sails out of the end zone. We are underway here at Javelina Stadium. So Texas Wesleyan will begin this game at the 20, or at the 25, excuse me. Wesleyan In their first game, actually had a decent game statistically offensively, had 473 yards on offense, but could only score 7 points. And that was a heck of a lot better than a year ago when their offense managed 20 points just once. But obviously the key for them getting into the end zone. Avery Childs comes out with the offense to take the opening snap. Jamarcus Jones, the running back, is to his left in a shotgun with 4 wide. Javelinas with just 1 man deep. That's the safety, Peyton Hendricks. Shotgun, the right for Childs. Ball tipped in the air, incomplete. Went off the hands of the intended receiver. Was trying to hit Lamont Monroe. And it'll be 2nd and 10. Starters for Texas Wesleyan, obviously Childs at quarterback, and as I mentioned, Jamarcus Jones at halfback. The starting receivers are Eric Richards and Lamont Monroe, though we'll see a lot of 4 receiver sets. And now the Rams come out with 3 receivers. Cole Maxwell is the starting tight end. Childs, handoff left for Jones, trying to cut upfield, runs into Jalen Harrison, and is dropped at about the line of scrimmage. Might have lost half a yard. And it'll be 3rd and long. The offensive line, the tackles are Josh Williams and Colby Moffitt. The guards are Jordan Higgins and Isaiah Williams, and Cesar Vidana is the center. And now another opportunity where it falls to the quarterback. 3rd down and 10. This is a quarterback down. They're going to have to rely on Avery Childs to make a play here.
If it's going to be a quarterback that needs to make a 3rd and long, it's probably Avery.
Childs in a shotgun. 3 receivers right, a single man left. That's Eric Richards. All right, back to the row is Childs. Throwing deep down the middle, incomplete. Pass low in front of the tight end Maxwell. And a 3-and-out for the Rams to begin this game. And that was probably not the start Coach Joe Prudhomme was looking for, Nate.
I don't think so. The run up the left side didn't seem like they had a lot going there with Jones and 12. You know, it didn't seem like they were willing to take a lot of chances, at least on that first drive.
Yeah, the two throws were short, safe throws. The run wasn't anything special. It just seemed like kind of a standard operating procedure. First 3 downs for the Rams. Gary Blazer is back to punt. The play clock's running down, and it just hit 0. There's no flag. Punt. A high short kick wobbling towards the Wesleyan sideline. It bounces out of bounds in front of the 50. Donovan Moore, the punt returner, just wanted to let it go. A 24-yard punt, and great field position for the Javelinas on 1st and 10.
Something they didn't have a week ago against the Lions to start off.
Always makes a quarterback and an offensive coordinator's job easier when you have a short field to work with. And here comes Coy Detmer Jr. Jr. opening with 3 receivers, 2 to the left, Jacob Armstrong and Alan Smith. The wide man to the right side is Aaron Dilworth. Detmer, hand off the middle, goes Jeff Carr, crashing past the 40-yard line to about the 39. He's close to a 1st down.
That's what you like to see from Jeff Carr, you know, the transfer from Oklahoma State. There's one thing we know about Mike Gundy, coach teams up there with the Cowboys, is speed, 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 and Jeff has plenty of it.
Offset I formation, 2 receivers right going in motion. The tight end Roposada left to right. In motion in the I is Williams. Handoff Carr again, heading straight up the middle. Cuts left to the 35 and is dragged down at about the 33. The starters for the Javelinas on offense, as I mentioned, Detmer at quarterback and Carr at running back. Armstrong, Smith, and Dilworth started at receivers, although you would expect to see a lot of Ty Chisholm. He caught 2 touchdowns in the opener. Torrey Thomas is the starting tight end, although the Javs will use a lot of 3 tight end sets, which they're doing right now. 3 tight ends bunched to the right in an I formation. A single receiver left. Pitch right for Carr. Cuts upfield now back to the left towards the 30, carrying a tackle to the 27. And the Javelinas making no bones about this early game plan. They just run right down Texas Wesleyan's throat.
Yeah, they're at the 27. What have they made? About 20 yards in the last 3 plays?
Mm-hmm. On the line, Nathan Sosa-Wells and Justin Johnson are the tackles. Joseph Fartida and Armando Castillo occupy the guard spots with Omar Wilkins at center. 2 receivers left in a pistol formation. 2 tight ends shifting from left to right. Those are Posada and Thomas. Detmer, high snap, back to pass. Clean pocket deep down the middle for Posada. Caught inside the 10. He's dropped at the 7. First and goal for the Javelinas.
That was one of those Detmer passes you weren't sure was going to be there. Was Rowe going to be? Was Rowe going to have enough time to turn around and make that catch? He was able to.
Habs looking for the first score of this game. Nick Pellerin is in the game behind Detmer, who's under center. Trips left with a tight end right. Hand off Pellerin off the right side. Now cuts back left inside the 5 to the goal line. Pellerin is in. Touchdown, Javelinas. So the Javelinas take the ball, go right down the field on a 5-play drive covering 49 yards, and they take a 6-0 lead. And now Julio De La Garza for the possibly adventurous point after touchdown. Good snap to Dial, gets it down, and the kick sails good. So 11:57 to go in the first quarter. The score is the Javelinas 7 and the Texas Wesleyan Rams nothing. And Nate, if you were a head coach and you were going to draw up a start for your team, that would be it. A 3-and-out followed by a short, easy touchdown drive. Not even 4 minutes off the clock, you're up by a touchdown.
I definitely agree with that. I think if you're a Joe Prudhomme on the Texas Wesleyan sideline, is whenever Carr or Pellerin got the ball, they were able to change directions with the way that they were running, and it seemed like the Rams weren't ready for those shifting directions in terms of where Carr was going to go and where Pellerin was going to go. It has the lookings of a very long night for Texas Wesleyan. Yeah,
it seemed like that Carr or Pellerin, and the defensive coordinator for Texas Wesleyan, Paul Duckworth, giving his defenders an earful right now. It seemed like Carr and Pellerin had plenty of time to sit back there, pick the spot, wait for a hole to open up. The Rams completely unable to get off any blocks over the course of that drive. And De La Garza back to boot it away once again. Ball spotted near the left hash, booting it from left to right. Kick taken in the end zone, taken a yard deep, back to the 10, off the right hash to the 20, cutting left to the 25, and dropped at about the 29-yard line is Diamond Williams. First and 10 for Wesleyan from there, and Avery Childs once again will be the quarterback. And not to bring this up too much, Nate, but this is where you really have to take some chances if you're the Rams. The other team dominated the first series on both sides of the ball. You can't just play this safe right here and then hope that something breaks your way. You have to try and make something happen. Sitting on your hands is not going to be a successful strategy. Handoff left for Johnson, cuts up the middle and is knocked down in the backfield. And getting in was Brandon Jones for the stop. And it will be second down and long.
Nice seeing Jones is up for this game as well after the performance he had a week ago.
I think anytime there's a football being snapped somewhere, Brandon Jones is getting excited. Second down and 11. Starters for the Javelinas on defense. Jones and Caleb Valentine are the ends. Sean Sims and Vaughn Taylor will be in the middle. The linebackers in this 4-2-5 are Tremichael Tutton, Jalen Harrison. Defensive backs in just a moment, and we got movement on the right side. That's going to be a false start on Wesleyan. The defensive backs for the Javelinas are Aaron Jackson and Brajon Crenshaw, both getting the start in this game. Sean Landez, Peyton Hendricks, and Devontae Williams are the three safeties.
You know, it's interesting that happened on the right side of the offensive line. When we got the depth chart, the two-deep depth chart coming up for this game, they're dealing with a couple of injuries. The Wesleyan Rams are. They've got one guy who's out for the season, and they have another right guard who's dealing with a day-to-day. Well, the right tackle is dealing with a day-to-day injury, and they've lost a right guard for the season.
Snap to Childs, hand off to Johnson, running left, cuts upfield up past the 25, slithers his way, easy for me to say, to the 28-yard line. That'll bring it back to third down and 11. And it should be mentioned that false start was on number 71. There is no number 71 on Wesleyan's roster right now. So that's indicative, like you said, of a team that's dealing with injuries. They have guys who maybe they weren't intending to play this season, if they have to get into the lineup just to have enough healthy bodies on the field.
These are the problems of a brand new football program.
Avery Childs in the shotgun, 3 receivers left, 1 man right. Ball goes through his hands, the snap, picks it up at the 15, running right, gets hit by Jones, gets a throwaway, is caught up near the 35. I think that Collier Ricks is going to be short of a first down with that reception. And they do hold up the fist for fourth down. I believe he's about 2 yards short, and here comes the Wesleyan punt team.
You got to give some credit to Avery Childs, able to recover after that bobbled snap and finding a receiver. It was, I believe that's the most positive yardage they've gotten on a pass play so far tonight.
So many times in a play like that, the quarterback will lose his composure, just fall on the ball. He stayed cool, calm, and collected, as they say, and found an open receiver, nearly picked up a first down. And Gregory Blazer back to punt. Low snap, but gets it away. Donovan Moore drifting back. He should have room to return this. Makes the catch at the 20. Avoids a man running right around the right side of the 25. Gets a block, and that'll be an illegal block on the back. Moore running right past midfield. He's going to cut left. I think he's going to score. And he's chased out the 16, but this is all going to come back. And I believe, I'm almost positive, this is going to be an illegal block in the back. Yeah, that one goes against one of the 3 freshmen on the active roster, Keyshawn Rowe. And you could see Rowe behind the place pleading his case to the official before they even announced the flag. Trying to come in and get the shoulder into the chest, but it looked like he went shoulder to back, and the referee was right there on the spot to throw the flag. Rowe, Josh Oglesby, and Karch Casper are the 3 freshmen who are on this active roster. And Rowe's not going to keep that spot with penalties like that. Just ended up ruining a great punt return from Donovan Moore. So instead, Temuque starts at their own 23. Detmer, shotgun with Pellerin in the backfield. 2 receivers right now. The tight ends, Thomas and Posada, shift to the left. Detmer, play fake, pass right in the flat for Dilworth, makes a man miss in the backfield with a stiff arm that gets him near the 25 and is finally bowled over by a host of Ram defenders. A gain of maybe a yard. The starters for Wesleyan on defense, Chijoki Uwage and Byron Tate are the ends. Zaylen Long and Matthew Shelby play defensive tackle, with Dominic Williams and Jalen King occupying the cornerback spots. Chance Carroll and Michael Miller are the safeties. The linebackers are Jordan Purnell and Kevin Netters on the outside, and Addison Medigovich on the inside. Handoff Pellerin left side, looking for a hole, trying to get around the corner and turns it, gets near the 30, and a flag is thrown. Tackled by Williams. 8:41 to go. We are in quarter number 1. It's 7-0 Javelinas in Temuque's home opener. Nate Cortiso alongside Mark and Sarah. And they get Posada for the hold. And it will be 2nd down and long. Penalties, a huge issue for the Javelinas, not just in that first game against Commerce when they had 12 for over 100 yards, but all year last year when they averaged 98 penalty yards a game. And I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for Coach Wilkinson and his staff to see these issues occurring week in and week out.
These are things you hope can be corrected during the off-season, viewing tape, changing different techniques. But when a problem like this continues into a season like it has so far, it can many times derail the season.
Detmer to throw pass left, and it is incomplete. Trying to hit Smith in the flat on a screen, but Diamond Williams was all over it. And it will be 3rd down and 14. And no Ty Chisholm as of right now for the Javelinas. Chisholm was their leading receiver in that first game against Commerce. 5 grabs, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now Chisholm did deal with a number of injuries last season. You hope that hasn't reoccurred. But we have not seen him in the blue and gold yet tonight. Shotgun, 3 receivers. High snap, but Detmer corrals it. Looking right. Still looking right. Pass is picked off. Diving interception by Jalen King inside the Javelina 30. And again, Nate, you got to take the good with the bad when you're playing a quarterback like this. He's going to take some chances, and those will make you some big plays occasionally, but you'll also be giving the ball away in bad field position every once in a while, too.
Deep in your own territory. Now the Rams are going to start from their own, or from the Javelina 28-yard line.
And that's the game you have to play when you're in a situation like that. It's 3rd and 14 early in the game. You can give your quarterback a chance to make a play, but that might happen as opposed to simply running the ball, punting, and trying again next time.
The referee's now moved it up to the 27.
Childs in this offense with their first good opportunity. Going in motion, left to right is Lamont Monroe. Pass right for Monroe, makes it, gets to 25, up to the 20, right sideline 10, 5, touchdown Rams. They sent Monroe in motion, hit him in the flat. That's a play the Javelinas use a lot, and he caught it on the run. A perfect ball from Childs to lead him into the catch, and he just sprinted down the sideline. Devontae Williams and Rokeem Paul unable to catch up with him, and now a chance for the Rams to even up this football game. Cade Dixon will try the PAT. He hit his only extra point try last week, but did miss a field goal from 21 yards out. Good snap. Holder gets it down. Kick from Dixon is good. So 8:07 to go in quarter number 1. Texas Wesleyan has tied it up. We are all even at 7. And so now you get a poor throw by Detmer on a 3rd and long. It takes one play for Texas Wesleyan to get into the end zone. Now the Javelinas might be dealing with a team that truly believes they can win this football game.
At least they believe now. I mean, there's still a lot of football to go, but specifically with Monroe from Texas Wesleyan. The kids from Houston, Texas, went to Bel Air High School. That is a school with a lot of, one of the high schools in the city of Houston with a lot of high-caliber football talent in terms of speed, and he turned on the Jets, and no one was catching him on his way to the end zone.
And the cliche they always use when you have, at least on paper, an overmatched team. If you're the team that is the favorite, is going to get that team down early, put them in a spot where they're behind the 8 ball, and eat into their confidence. Now all of a sudden Wesleyan is 100% into this game and ready to go. As you mentioned, there's still a long way to go in this football game, and they're not going to start every possession on the Javelinas 27-yard line. But this is a different football game than what we thought it was going to be, even after those first 2 possessions when it went 3 and out and then a quick touchdown for the Javelinas.
It looked like Avery Childs couldn't complete the pass until he bobbled one. Maybe that was the most important bobbled snap of the season for the Rams, because now it's spurted a touchdown and some confidence for Avery in that offense.
So a touchdown for Texas A&M-Kingsville at the 11:57 mark on a run by Nick Pellerin, but with 8:07 to go, Wesleyan answers following Corey Detmer Jr.'s 3rd interception of the season. And they'll prepare to boot it away. Gregory Blazer will kick it deep. The Javelinas have plenty of hands guys up front. Guys like Devin Milburn and Jacob Armstrong. But you have to be ready for anything. And the Javelinas are all bunched up inside the hashes. Now they spread out a little bit. And also Caleb Valentine and Torrey Thomas are up pretty close. They look like they are prepared for an onside kick. Blazer marking it off about 7 yards. Nick Pellerin, Jeff Carr back to return. A short pooch kick left side. Armstrong goes back, leaps, makes the catch, is swarmed under immediately at his own 41. So the Rams trying something a little bit different, but Armstrong was on the spot to catch that onside kick. And it's 1st and 10 to move with good field position. They mark it at the 43.
Maybe that was all Coach Prudhomme needed. He needed that touchdown to get some confidence in thinking, okay, maybe now we can try some things instead of trying things without any context of
any frame of reference, you could
at all.
say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pistol formation, Detmer with 3 receivers out wide, 2 to the right. Handoff Carr right up the middle, 45-50, left side 40, to the 30, down the numbers to the 20, to the 15, 10, 5, touchdown Javelinas! Offensive line just blew open a hole on the left side of Commerce's defense, and Carr was off and running from there.
Maybe that was an adjustment Darren Wilkinson decided to make. Corey Detmer was trying to throw the football on the Javelinas' last possession. Go back to the bread and butter. What got you into the end zone the first time? Running the ball with number 2, Nick Pellerin, running the ball with Jeff Carr. Carr took it all the way to the house.
PAT low snap. Dial gets it down. Kick looked like it was drifting left, but it sails inside the left upright. It is 14-7 Javelinas. And this is a team that prides itself on running the football. They were one of the top rushing teams in the LSC last season. They didn't have any success against Commerce running the ball. They averaged under 3 yards a carry in that ball game. And now to be able to come out and reestablish the run against this Ram team, like you said, it really gets this team back to one of the things they want to be known for as an offense, being able to run the ball regardless whether the defense knows it or not.
And that was the interesting thing about last week, because Commerce, they were the heavy favorites. That was their home opener. Kingsville needed to try some different things to keep the game interesting and keep them in it. Now the roles are reversed. Texas Wesleyan, they're the team. They're trying to upset the Kingsville Javelinas tonight. So they have to be, the Rams are going to be more willing to take risks, but Kingsville has to remember who they are and stay within that identity, because that's going to get them to victory.
Javelinas in this game with 84 yards rushing on 5 carries. That's a pretty good average, 16.8 yards per rush. De La Garza to kick off one more time. Williams drifting towards the sideline, catches it near the sideline, now turns back to the left towards the middle of the field, up the numbers to the 10, spun around at the 15, still going to the 25, hit by De La Garza and dropped up past the 30. And it looked like Williams was making a mistake catching that ball near the sideline at first, but he turned it into a pretty good return by the end of it.
I was getting ready to say that. He caught that at around the 5-yard line. Mm-hmm. The ball was drifting out of bounds. He probably should have let it run, but he's still able to get some positive yardage out of it. And hey, it's 1st and 10 from the 33. That's a lot better than what would have happened had he probably muffed it or something like that.
Or even if he let it go, maybe the ball bounces into the end zone rather than out of bounds, and you get the ball
at the
7 yards further back than where you would have it right now. An injured Javelina down at about the 27-yard line being attended to by the medical staff. 7:47 to go. We are in quarter number 1. It's 14-7 Javelinas. And the Havs getting a pair of touchdown runs, one from Nick Pellerin and a second one by Jeff Carr. Carr going 57 yards with that run. And the injured Javelinas helped off the field. That's Peyton Hendricks. Tamook starting free safety.
That's a big one.
Javelinas lost a safety in last week's game when Sean Landez was ejected for targeting, and having to deal with possibly the loss of another one here in game 2. Snap back to Childs out of the shotgun. Under pressure, drifting through the pocket, 35, upfield to the 37-yard line. Tackled there by Sean Sims, a run of 4 yards by Childs. And a collapsing pocket, never fun for a quarterback, but he made something positive out of it there.
He's got some pretty good poise. I think, we were questioning, just how willing he would be and how the offense for the Rams would be to taking chances, and he seems pretty composed in a difficult environment.
3 receivers in a pistol formation. Man in motion, left to right. Hand up to Jones, running off the right side. Gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe pushes ahead and stretches for a yard. 3rd down coming up for Wesleyan. Rams 0 for 2 on 3rd down so far tonight. And men coming in and out. Certainly some confusion in the Rams huddle. The play clock's already down under 15 seconds. They have 4 receivers with the trips left. Make that now 5 receivers. As also going out slot right side is Brandon Reeves. Empty backfield for Childs, 3rd and 5. Quick pass right, pass high over the head of Reeves, incomplete. Or check that, make that Lamont Monroe. He wanted pass interference, but no flag was forthcoming. And another punt from Gregory Blazer.
With Reeves coming in, when you say over the head, I mean, the kid's only 5'5", so there's...
You got a small window to throw through when you're...
Smaller than normal, for sure.
Donovan Moore nearly took his last return back to all the way for a touchdown, even though it was erased due to a penalty. Blazer averaging 25 yards on 2 boots, gets it away. High kick, more coming up. Lets it bounce inside the 30. And it will roll out of bounds at about the 19. A punt of 43 yards by Blazer. And the Javelinas have had success on the 2 drives they started with good field position. The one time they started deep with their own territory ended up in a turnover. Detmer will try and take this team the length of the field for the first time. 6:11 to go. We're in quarter number 1. 14-7. Javelinas lead the Texas Wesleyan Rams in Temuc's home opener here in 2018. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday evening. And 4 men split out to the left. Now the 3 tight ends, Posada, Thomas, and Williams in a bunch go to the right. Luis Lopez in the backfield, back to throw Detmer. Right flat for Williams. High, leaping catch past the 20. Gets tripped up and stumbles his way to about the 25. Tackled there by Jalen King. Second down and manageable for Detmer and company. That was Detmer's 3rd completion in 4 attempts. Obviously, the one incompletion was the interception for 28 yards. 4 receivers, trips left. Detmer rushes under center, now heads back into the shotgun. Handoff Lopez right up the middle, is hit quickly and pushes to the 26. 3rd down and 3 upcoming. And now this is a situation, Nate, where if you're Darren Wilkinson, the whole playbook is open. Running the ball for 3 yards has not been an issue for you at all in this game. And obviously you can still use play action. If you want to let Detmer throw the ball again, obviously that's a possibility. Such an easy situation for an offensive coordinator to call, much easier than you would say a 3rd and long. Detmer to throw, looking left now to the right, in the middle of the field, caught by Thomas, avoids one tackler, but is going to get tackled at the line of scrimmage. They tried a middle screen, and it was crowded with white jerseys.
I'm not sure about that play calling there on 3rd and short. You had an opportunity where, again, you run the football. That's what you're good at. That's what got you your first 2 touchdowns. On 3rd and 1, that should be an obvious thing for the offensive staff to do for the Javelinas.
Now a really odd formation for the Javelinas here. Caleb Valentine is deep, and now they reorganized into a punt formation. So many odd formations in college football these days. But this one reverts to normal. De La Garza punting to Dominic Williams, but almost a snap, but gets it away. Good kick. Williams will take it drifting to the right. Now he's going to actually let it bounce, and that one will roll out of bounds, still staying in at about the 18. It rolls out. A good punt from De La Garza. That one covering 46 yards. And here's the interesting thing about Julio De La Garza. This guy has become adept at dropping punts inside the 20-yard line. Did it more than once against Commerce. Had 18 punts inside the 20 last season. He didn't start punting until midway through last season.
This is something that he's been really adept at since his high school career, playing at Lopez High School down in the Rio Grande Valley in Brownsville. An outstanding kicker. He's really improved over time, and don't let his body fool you. This guy's a really skilled kicker and punter.
Oh, anytime. And just imagine how much easier that makes it on a head coach. Whenever you have a good kicker, a guy who you can send out there when you need 3 points and basically not worry about it, that takes so much stress away. Because I can just speak from my standpoint, and maybe you can too, as a fan. Whenever you have a good kicker as opposed to a bad kicker, it's such a weight off your mind. As a head coach, the amount of extra stress being put on you in that kind of a situation, I can only imagine. 4:05 to go. We're in quarter number 1. The Javelinas lead this by a score of 14-7. Javelinas opened the scoring on a 6-yard touchdown run by Nick Pellerin with a little under 12 minutes to go. 5 minutes later, Texas Wesleyan got on the board when Avery Childs completed a 28-yard touchdown pass to Lamont Monroe. But the Javelinas responded with a 57-yard touchdown run by Jeff Carr. And that gave them the 7-point lead they currently hold. Both teams ready to go. The ball is spotted on the far hash, or the right hash, I should say, as the Rams will go from right to left for those tuning in on KTAI. Child shotgun, 3 receivers. Looking left, a slant dropped by Monroe at the 21-yard line. Got hit immediately, and he couldn't hold on to make the catch, 2nd and 10.
We've seen now both Childs and Detmer try and find receivers in the middle of the field, and there's just way too much traffic for any substantial yardage to be gained there.
And that's the big advantage that the Javelinas have in their ability, or at least their ability so far, to run the football. If you're Texas Wesleyan, it's going to be a lot tougher to keep this defense honest, to keep them in a situation where they have to defend run or pass when they haven't been able to run the ball. Hand off right for Jones, trying to twist through a couple tacklers, gets to the 17. Appears to have lost a yard on that play, and that has been pretty much the story of Wesleyan's run game. That's their 6th carry, their 6th rushing attempt. They have under 10 yards, and their longest one was probably the run by Childs when he was simply scrambling out of the pocket. Jones ran for 129 yards against Kansas Wesleyan in the Rams' Week 1 game. He has 4 carries for 6 yards so far today. 3 receivers again for Childs on a 3rd and 10. Back to throw, rolling right, looking downfield, just throws it out of bounds. Getting rid of it was Childs, and it'll be 4th down. And Childs just trying to avoid the rush and not take a sack right there. Another 3 and out for Wesleyan.
And we talked about the field position game. Now it looks like it's going to be back in the Javelinas' favor after dealing with some issues earlier in this quarter.
4th punt for Blazer. We're still in the first quarter. Just gets it away as the Javelinas is going for a block. Moore is going to catch it. Not calling a fair catch, but is dropped right where he catches the ball. Moore anxious to make a play after getting that long punt return called back. They'll spot him at the 44.
And we've seen in these last 3 punts from the Javelinas and the Rams together, we've seen guys like Moore and the returner for the Rams, be a little bit undecisive as the ball is coming towards them. I think on that last punt that the Wesleyan Rams were about to receive, it almost hit their returner. He had to sort of scoot out of the way because he wasn't sure if he was going to catch it or not. So the special teams need some work on both sides tonight.
And the first man to greet Moore when he's coming off the field, the head special teams coach, Kevin May.
Yeah.
In a single back formation, handoff left for Carr, trying to turn the corner, gets corralled in the backfield and dropped for a loss. The first man racing in to grab him was Tristan Blake, and a loss on the play for Carr. 2nd down and 11. Carr still with 5 carries for 77 yards, not including that 57-yard touchdown burst. Detmer bobbles the snap and has a fall on it at the 40-yard line. And there were so many snap issues for this team, not just long snapping, but Detmer bobbled more than 1 snap against Commerce in that first game, and that pops up again. And the Javelinas might be in the lead, Nate, but there are a lot of issues we've seen in this game that they're going to need to clean up over the course of these final 47 minutes.
The fear is now it's still a 1-possession game, and now you're in the middle of the field. If you don't convert this 3rd down, you're giving it right back to the Rams.
Detmer to throw, looking right over the middle for Carr, up past midfield, pushing through a tackle to about the 47. He's close to a first down. I think the head linesman is going to give it to him. And the chain gang gets on the move. It'll be 1st and 10.
Well, that time the middle of the field opened up. There weren't a lot of defenders from the Rams, and that was a good read by Detmer finding Carr in the middle of the space.
Well, it's Carr's 3rd catch of the season, and the Javelinas now go with Luis Lopez in the backfield in the shotgun with 3 receivers right. Hand up Lopez running left, slips through a tackle across the 45 to the 43-yard line. And this is a running back by committee system with Carr, Pellerin, and Lopez. These running backs rarely see 20 carries. Usually 15 is their max. That was Carr's season high in carries a year ago. Pellerin never carried the ball more than 18 times in 2017. Offset eye with, again, Lopez, the tailback, and 2 receivers. Detmer under center, now going in motion left to right is the tight end Posada. Wesleyan adjusting on defense as well. Detmer to throw. Looking deep. Left side. Going for Allen Smith. Caught inside the 5 and out of bounds at the 3.
Perfect placement by Coy Detmer Jr. I wasn't sure if Smith was going to be in bounds to make the catch. But, you know, that's the kind of quarterback that Coy Detmer is. He can take chances and throw balls into windows that most quarterbacks won't even dare trying.
Yeah, when you have an arm like that, if you're able to put the ball on a player with that kind of accuracy, it's going to be really difficult for any defensive back to make a play on it. And Smith had about half a step on Diamond Williams, but that was all he needed to get enough room to make that catch. Lopez, the deep man, hit up to Williams on a jet sweep. Williams is wrapped up in the backfield. He's going to lose 5 yards. As the center of Wesleyan's defense blew up that play, and Williams was contacted before he could get turned and go upfield. And that will do it for the first quarter here at Javelinas Stadium. The score with 15 minutes gone. The Javelinas 14 and the Rams 7. We'll be right back on the Javelinas Sports Network with the second quarter of this one. Mark and Serenade Cortizo back in a moment.
Second quarter of tonight's game, sponsored by Porky's More. Porky's located at 225 East A&M-Kingsville. That's the Porky's for credit, photography, and more. And for being official sponsor of Javelinas Athletics.
Second goal for the Javelinas as we begin the second quarter. Hand up to Lopez running left, trying to sling him down the backfield. But Lopez stays on his feet and scores. Byron Tate, or I believe it was Iwage, had Lopez in the backfield and tried to throw him down rather than make the tackle. And Lopez stayed on his feet and slid inside the left pylon for a touchdown.
What we saw on the first carry of this game for Lopez is he took a run that would have been, back at the line of scrimmage, but he just wouldn't go down, and he got an extra couple of yards out of it. He is that type of tough runner that you cannot bring him down with just one guy, and he gets the touchdown for the Habs.
PAT from De La Garza is up and good. 14:52 to go in quarter number 2. And the Javelinas lead 21-7. 3 rushing touchdowns by 3 different players: Pellerin, Carr, and now Lopez. We mentioned running back by committee. They're spreading the wealth tonight, Nate.
It's a good committee. The committee's, they send out flyers, and they're gaining interest from a lot of people. The committee is a very good committee for the Javelinas, and this is what they're supposed to do. This is their road to victory. And
looking at the replay, Nate, it was Byron Tate had Lopez in his grasp at about the 15, and like I said, tried to throw him down, but Lopez just stayed on his feet and then ran through Andrew Walker at the goal line to get in for that touchdown. And the Rams have yet to find an answer for this Javelina run game tonight.
And maybe they won't. The hope is that Avery Childs and the offense can keep up the scoring, because I can't imagine the Rams tightening up on defense enough to thwart the Javelina run game.
And that's a tall task, like we said in pregame. If this team scored 20 points only once last season, so for them to be able to keep up with the Javelinas on offense is going to require something out of the ordinary. The Javelinas with 11 rushes for 88 yards so far in this game. Kickoff by De La Garza, a short pooch kick left side, and that will go out of bounds. And a frustrated De La Garza goes back to pick up his tee. And Wesleyan with good field position to start their first drive here in quarter number 2.
Yeah, he knows he doesn't usually make those kinds of mistakes.
Wesleyan with just 1 first down so far in this game. And all told, just 46 overall yards for the Rams. The Javelinas with 169 so far. And the only touchdown that Wesleyan scored came after a Coy Detmer Jr. interception, which gave them the ball inside to Mook's 30-yard line.
You know, the funny thing about quarterback rating, as we look at the stats after the first quarter, Childs actually has a better quarterback rating than Coy Detmer, and Detmer has only had that 1 interception, that 1 incompletion all night. Childs is at 118. Detmer's at 10, or Detmer's now at 154. Before that drive for the Javelinas, Childs did have a higher quarterback rating.
And I don't know if you just heard the penalties that were announced. Obviously the penalty against the Javelinas for a kick out of bounds, but they get a personal foul penalty against Texas Wesleyan that they call against linebacker Mark James. 15 yards, knocks them all the way back to the 20. This is just as good as a touchback all of a sudden. Childs to throw, looking over the middle, right into the hands of Devontae Williams, intercepted to the 26. Williams stepped right in front of Lamont Monroe for the interception. And the Javelinas go back on offense.
That was a very wobbly throw from Avery Childs. At least as far as tonight is concerned, I haven't seen a less confident throw from the quarterback. And that was just an easy pick for Williams to get his hands on.
And that was another one of those throws you talked about when the Javelinas tried that same play, a middle screen. The middle of the field crowded. There was not a lot of room. It was exactly the same right there, but Childs under pressure might not have thought the throw through completely, just put it up and went right to Devontae Williams. And now the Javelinas with a chance to build an even bigger lead as Detmer stands in the pistol with Pellerin, the running back. Handoff right, trying to get around the right side, gets hit in the backfield, and he will be tackled for a loss. First man in looked to be Dylan Petway. Or check that, make that Netters. And second and long. So Wesleyan, at least of late, getting penetration on these runs. That's the 3rd straight time the Hogs have tried to run the ball, and there's been a guy from Wesleyan in the backfield almost immediately.
At least they've had multiple people, and I think that's what they need. They need more gang tackling around the corners because guys like Carr, guys like Pellerin can hit that edge hard.
Up the middle goes Pellerin, slips through a tackle at the 25 and rolls over another man at the 24. A run of 8 yards for Nick Pellerin. And now another 3rd down coming up for the Javelinas. Javs have only had 2 3rd downs tonight. They're 1 of 2. 13:40 to go and counting. We're in the second quarter. 21-7 Javelinas. 3rd down and 8. They need to get to about the 15. Detmer to throw. Looking right now over the middle. Left for Armstrong. Threw his hands on another screen. And it'll be 4th down. And that would bring on Julio De La Garza, you would think. The Javelinas are at the Wesleyan 24. This is within De La Garza's range for sure, but here on 4th and 8, they're going to go for this.
And Detmer's still out there. And you wonder when Armstrong wasn't able to make that catch. I know we're both still on Ty Chisholm watch, and we haven't seen him on the field just yet.
And anytime an offense is operating with their number 1 wide receiver, it's going to be a challenge. Trips left, pistol formation on 4th and 8. In motion goes Milburn. Play fake, Detmer to throw, looking over the middle. Throwing deep, end zone for Torrey Thomas! Intercepted!
Oh, incomplete. I don't think he came
Or
down
check
with
that,
it.
and it was a good thing for your Wesleyan. You don't want that pass to be picked off.
Yeah.
Jalen came like he went up for the interception and dropped it. And so a turnover on downs. Actually, it wouldn't have made a huge difference. It would have been 4 yards, the 20 as opposed to the 24. But an odd call at that point in the game. You have a good field goal kicker. He made a 45-yarder last week, and this is a 41-yarder on his home field. You would think that would be right in his wheelhouse.
You wonder if that kicked out of bounds by De La Garza, if that's still in his head. Maybe that's something Coach Wilkinson saw, and maybe he wasn't in the right frame of mind to come out and kick a field goal. It's a lot of speculation on my behalf, but it's certainly something that happened recently with De La Garza, who's normally reliable.
Shotgun, 3 receivers, man in motion. Handoff right. Jones trying to turn the corner. Gets nailed in the backfield by Brandon Jones and dropped at the 16. That'll be an 8-yard loss.
He had about 4 tackles for a loss and a sack last week against the Commerce Lions. This is the player who won the Lone Star Conference Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons ago, and he looks well on his way to another one, at least a week and a half into the season.
He looks every bit like the guy who was named Conference Defensive Player of the Year a couple of years ago. That's his 2nd tackle for a loss tonight. Shotgun, 2nd down and 18 from the 16. Blitz being shown off the edge by the safety, Nick Stiff. Here he comes. Handoff Jones left side. Gets through 1 tackle and is upended by Tremichael Tutt at the 15. And Wesleyan still unable to find any semblance of a ground game. 8 carries for 2 yards so far, compared to 13 rushes for 90 yards for the Javelinas. And 3rd and 19. So from the 15, Wesley needs to get to the 34. 4 receivers, trips to the left side, with Cole Maxwell and Lamont. Or check that now, we have a timeout by the Javelinas with 11:51 to go. 21-7 is our score. The Javelinas lead Texas Wesleyan. Mark and Sarah alongside Nate Cortizo. We are through 18 minutes of football in Temuc's home opener. And probably not as crisp a start as the Javelinas were hoping for, but a lot of good things from this team, especially as we talked about on the ground. This Javelina running game has been overpowering thus far.
3 different running backs getting touchdowns, from Lopez to Pellerin to Jeff Carr, who had that big burst earlier in that first quarter. This again, this is what the Javelinas do. This is what needs to be done in their home opener, because this Wesleyan team, they haven't exactly laid down and died in front of the Javelinas. They've showed some spunk, and I think as long as you win the field position battle, you'll be able to take down the Rams if you're the Javelinas.
And this is a Javelina offense that's operating without their 2 starting tackles tonight. They still have been able to run the ball plenty efficiently. Back to throw goes Childs, under pressure, stepping up, rolling left, and gets sacked at the 14-yard line. Jamar Davis picks up the sack, and 4th down comes up for Wesleyan. 2nd sack of the season for Temuc. Brandon Jones had the first one last week. And for Childs, a tough spot right there on 3rd and 19. You're going to wait back there and see if anything comes open. And at some point in time, the pocket just collapsed, and he got swallowed up.
Certainly encouraging to see after how the defense, showed some signs of fatigue against the Lions in overtime last week. They seem well rested with those extra.
High snap, bringing it down and nearly getting it blocked was Blazer, the punt, bouncing out of bounds in Wesleyan territory. I believe that was Jamar Davis again who got in and nearly rejected that punt. Javelinas with good field position on the 41-yard line. A short punt. That punt only covering 27 yards. Carr is the lone setback. He leads the Javelinas in rushing, 5 carries, 77 yards. Handoff, Carr, right side, cuts back, left, squeezes through a hole, tackled at the 40. And the sun, if you're watching the live stream, I'm sure you can see, has gone down. A beautiful night for football here in Kingsville. Probably couldn't have asked for a better night for this team to open their home schedule. Pistol formation for Detmer, 3 receivers. The junior back to throw, looking left, throwing over the middle, incomplete over the head of Jacob Armstrong. 3rd down and 9 coming up. Detmer is 6 of 10 in this game for 81 yards, but this has not been his most crisp performance. He has not looked as on his game as he did last week against Commerce.
You know, as we've mentioned, you know, Detmer's had his, you know, moments of brilliance and moments of confusion. If we get it's probably going to be fairly rare this season if we get a truly pristine, clean game from Coy Detmer Jr.
Hey, deep in the middle, caught by Dilworth at the 30. Trying to cut back left, now heads upfield to the 27-yard line. That's a 1st down. Dilworth's first catch of the contest is good for 13 yards and a fresh set of downs.
He had 6 catches and 82 yards. He was tied with the most yards with Ty Chisholm last week. It was a surprise that right now, here in the 2nd quarter, that's his first reception of the game.
No one on this team, as a matter of fact, has more than 1 catch tonight. Detmer spreading it around. Handoff, Carr up the middle. Cuts right through a hole to the 20. Trying to turn the corner. Gets to the 19. Brought down a gain of 8. And it will be 2nd down and short. And now another player down for the Javelinas. Looks like an offensive lineman. I believe that's Omar Wilkins, the Hogs center. And Jorge Rios coming in to take the place of Wilkins. Wilkins was the only player who returned as a starter on this offensive line. And even he changed positions. He went from guard to center. And this is a guy who started his career with the Javelinas here as a defensive lineman. So he's gone from one side of the ball to the other and then from one position to another on this line.
The offensive line is such a delicate ecosystem. You can't really mess around with it too much because you want consistency and you want enough strength to keep your quarterback, running back, and whoever else behind him healthy.
Fake jet sweep up the middle goes Lopez trying to run over the defender. Does the 10 to the 5. Touchdown, Luis Lopez.
You aren't going to bring this guy down. He won't let you.
Lopez just blew up Jalen King at about the 13 and was gone from there. It was almost like they say the unstoppable force meets an immovable object, and Lopez just ran King over and went the rest of the way for the touchdown.
With the coldest of shoulders.
Lopez 4 carries, 33 yards, 2 scores. Villa Garza for the PAT. Good snap. Kick is up. Kick is good. 9:15 to go. We are in quarter number 2. 28-7 the score in favor of the Javelinas. And this guy, Luis Lopez, an interesting story, Nate. He was on the team in 2016, ran for nearly 600 yards, and had a 100-yard game to his credit that season. Was not on the squad last season. Came back this year for his senior season. And they all of a sudden found himself 3rd on the depth chart behind Jeff Carr and Nick Pellerin. But taking advantage of an opportunity tonight, a couple touchdowns, and has looked really impressive, especially after contact.
If he's the Javelinas' 3rd option at running back, he could very easily be, well, he's a senior now, of course, but he looks like a 2nd or possibly 1st option for a lot of other teams in Division II. But, you know, he is someone who is, you know, a lot of players who take a year off from football and they come back for their senior year. Their last year, it really means something to them. They're going to give it all that they have. They're going to train like they never have before, run like they never have before, and we're seeing shades of that certainly tonight. Just tossing Rams aside left and right.
Not to mention, if you take a year off from a sport that's as demanding as football, your body kind of gets to replenish itself. You get to come back fresh. And Lopez has certainly looked like that tonight. And yeah, we've talked before about how this is a running back by committee system. Neither guy gets a ton of carries. Neither guy has to deal with a lot of the hits that these running backs take on a nightly basis. And when you can spread it out, when you have a guy as good as Luis Lopez, who's your third option, why would you subject a guy to 25 carries when the guy you can give it to second or third string is just as good?
Yeah, he's the human epitome of a pinball tonight for the Habs.
That's actually a really good analogy. Yeah, he has done exactly that, and that's helped them score a couple of touchdowns. And the Javelinas now feel like they have the control of this game that we thought they were in after that first touchdown drive. You get a turnover, you turn it into a score, you're up by 3 touchdowns, you're not even midway through the second quarter. It feels like this offense has the rhythm that they wanted in this game. They're not struggling or searching for something. They are all together, kind of like a puzzle that's been put together. De La Garza booting it short, taken at the 15, running right up to the 20, cutting left to the 25, escaping a Jamar Davis tackle and brought down by Armstrong at the 27 is Brandon Reeves. A shifty return by the 5'5" receiver. And Avery Childs back at quarterback. And yeah, still no sign of Donovan Isom. You wonder if there's a point in time when Coach Joe Prudhomme would give Isom the opportunity to take some snaps, but it has been all Avery Childs so far. And Childs just 2 of 8 for 36 yards. Obviously the 1 touchdown, but also an interception. Shotgun, going in motion is Jones, the running back. Pass left flat for Jones. Runs into his own man. Wow. Ball comes out. Javelinas say they have it. And they do. Jones, as he was turning upfield, ran into his own man who was blocking inside the 25. The ball popped out, and the Javelinas were right there to fall on it.
Got to give a lot of credit to Haskell Buff in that play call, because that ball was either going to be batted at the line, but also the fact that Jones ran into his man, and then the ball was quite literally ripped from his clutches. You know, that's something that I'm sure Haskell Buff has emphasized with this defense after the performance they had, giving up 37 points. But they're a lot tougher tonight than they were a week ago.
Jalen Harrison with the recovery on that play. 1st and 10, halves pistol formation at the Wesleyan 24. Detmer looking right now, looking left, throwing deep, end zone for Connor Perkins, incomplete. Ball underthrown, and in good coverage was Diamond Williams. 2nd and 10.
And good job by the refs for not calling a pass interference, because while it was underthrown, it was also no way, had there been position to catch that football, for there to be a reception. So good job by the refs for keeping that flag in their pocket.
Offset eye. Tight end Posada goes in motion left to right. 2 receivers for Detmer. Hand off Pellerin, trying to fight through the middle. Tackled after a gain of maybe a yard. 3rd down and 9. Detmer, so far in this game, 7 of 12 for 93 yards. An interception, still looking for his first touchdown pass. Opens with 4 receivers here. Looking over the middle, throwing for Dilworth. Caught the 10, cuts back right to the 5. Dilworth, touchdown, Javelinas.
What a move to catch himself, shift his vision, and find the end zone. Big time.
And the cornerback covering him just went right by. A safety made a swipe at him. Dilworth avoided him and headed for the end zone after that. There's Detmer's first touchdown pass, and that is him and Dilworth hook up from 23 yards out. And just a wicked move from Aaron Dilworth as we look at the replay here in the booth. Good snap, kick by Julio De La Garza is good. 35-7 our score with 8:14 to go in quarter number 2. Javelinas with a 28-point lead here in their home opener. And a penalty on Wesleyan, obviously declined on the PAT. And the Javelinas quickly turning this into a runaway. 21 points here in the second quarter. We're not even halfway done with this period.
How are you going to call plays going forward if you're the head coach over at Texas Wesleyan, Joe Prudhomme? Because you had the touchdown off of the turnover earlier in this half, but they've had absolutely no chance in every single drive that they had. They've all been punts or turnovers or turnover on downs. You know, you had something going early, and now it's been so long since they've had any consistency, had any success. How deep in the bag do you reach into to get a play that'll jumpstart the Rams offense again?
Wesleyan, 18 plays for 36 yards so far in this game, and 28 of those yards came on one play, the touchdown pass. And that seems like it happened in another lifetime right now with how this game has gone since then. Pooch kick taken at the 17, a fake pitch back, now heading up the middle of the 25 to the 30. And brought down across the 30 is Reeves. And Wesleyan will start it once again first inning. To answer your question, how do you play this game? I don't think you have a choice. When you're down 28 points, I realize that Childs has been less than spectacular, but you have to keep throwing the ball because running the ball, A, really isn't going to do too much good when you're down 28 points, and B, you haven't been able to run the ball in this game. Now you might say, well, they haven't been able to throw the ball either, but when you're down, you need points, you need yards quickly. Even if it's this early in the game, you have to keep throwing.
And that's probably the reason why we haven't seen Isom out there at all. You know, he might not have the ability to throw the football like Avery does, but even Avery's having a tough night.
Childs hand off left. Getting back to the line of scrimmage is Desmond Nisby. Nisby, one of 2 Texas Tech transfers in this game. Nisby transferred to Wesleyan after last season. This is his first season with the Rams, and in his first season with the Javelinas is their free safety Peyton Hendricks. He left Texas Tech after the 2016 season. And should also mention, Hendricks has not returned since he left with an injury after that on Wesleyan's kickoff back in the first quarter. Trips right for Isom. Now shifting back behind him is Nisby in a pistol. Handoff left. Runs into Vaughn Taylor at about the line of scrimmage and is shoved back by a host of blue jerseys. Caleb Valentine, one of the ones leading the charge, as was Dynamite Fagata.
There we go.
And now a late flag comes in. And one of the Wesleyan players having to be separated. I believe that was Jamarcus Jones.
A very quick note, Mark. We are also seeing Seminot into the game for the first time after his big Thursday night against the Lions.
Yeah, Seminot, I thought was not going to play until the second half of this game, but here he is in the second quarter. And that it was Nisby, my mistake, not Jones. And yeah, Seminot had one of the biggest plays in that Commerce game, picked off Preston Wheeler at the goal line, ending one of Commerce's early opportunities, and had a really good game, not just because that interception had more than one pass breakup. Seminot, a junior transfer from Dodge City Community College. It looks like he is going to stick as a starter on this Javelina defense. Pistol formation, trips right, run receiver left. 3rd and 23. Childs gets a chest high snap, looking right, throwing short right, passes batted away. Looking for Lamont Monroe. In good coverage was Devontae Williams. And another flag comes down, and I think this one is also going to be on Desmond Nisby, who was going after one of the officials. And it goes without saying, Nate, but when you're down 28 points and you're in a situation where you might be at a disadvantage talent-wise in this game, you can't go committing stupid penalties. You can't put yourself in a 3rd and 23.
Especially in a situation where he perhaps made contact with the ref, or I guess we'll get a listen to what they decide.
Well, it might not matter. That's his second unsportsmanlike. He's ejected anyway.
There you go.
So contact. So the penalty's offset as they get Caleb Valentine from the Javelinas. But Nisby, as I mentioned, contact with the official or no contact. That's 2. 2 and 2 plays, I should say. He's gone. The Javelinas lose out on some yardage they would have gained, but I don't think there'll be too many tears shed over that. When you're up 35-7, mistakes like that are things you can afford to live with. 5:44 to go. We're in quarter number 2. Javelinas up by 28 points. A couple touchdown runs by Luis Lopez, one each for Nick Pellerin and Brandon Carr, and a touchdown hookup from Coy Detmer Jr. to Aaron Dilworth. Donovan Moore to receive another punt. And this one a good kick taken at the 38. Moore taking his time, moving right towards the sideline, waiting for a hole to open up. Passes the 45 and goes down at the 49. That was the 6th punt of the night for Gregory Blazer. He has been the busiest man on this Wesleyan team so far. And Detmer comes out to lead the blue and gold once again. 4 receivers, shotgun formation. Torrey Thomas is the slot man on the near side. Havlin is going from right to left. Handoff Pellerin trying to turn the corner. Tries to cut back inside. Tackled after a gain of maybe a yard. Or check that, make that 3 yards. 2nd down and 7.
To briefly go back to Nisby and his ejection, it appears that he's taken off his helmet and pads and he's heading off to the locker room for the Rams. But I mean, if frustration is boiling over with 5 minutes left in the second quarter, then the Rams have a long night ahead of them.
Very true. When you're committing mistakes like that and in this kind of a hole and you still have a whole half to play, it just seems like torture. Pistol. Detmer. Play fake to Pellerin. Rolling left. Looking for Posada. Now under pressure. Spins away from a rusher. Throws it wide open. Caught. Up past the 40. And dropped at the 39-yard line. That one caught by Tyler Wilson. His first catch of the season.
A play like that has just got to make you smile. Just to see, Detmer was, he stood for about half a second thinking he was probably going to take a sack, spins out of it, and when you have a guy like that who can extend plays, people will get open that you weren't expecting to get open, or even the receivers expecting themselves to get open. That's the kind of skill this guy has.
Pistol, handoff Pellerin, cuts around the right side, has some room, 35, trying to turn the corner, and is dropped at the 34. By Jalen King. And to go back to that last play for Detmer, you brought up Brett Favre earlier. The guy who that almost reminded me of was Tony Romo. The way Tony Romo used to do that, spinning away from guys like J.J. Watt in the pocket. And that was one of the things that really impressed me last week about Detmer. His ability when the pocket would break down to step up or to roll away from pressure, to create more time for himself and give himself another few seconds to find an open receiver. That's such a valuable quality for a quarterback. Like you said about Avery Charles, keep your composure and keep your eyes focused downfield. Passing the flat for Pellerin, he's going to get tackled for a loss.
It's like a 5 or 6 yard loss, and maybe an injury for the Rams, or not quite. 3rd
down and about 12 coming up for Detmer. They spot the ball at the 41. I should have mentioned the 1st down sticks are on our side of the field. The chain gang has their back to us, so tough to tell exactly where the 1st down line would be. But suffices to say the Javelinas need to get to about the 26-yard line for a fresh set. Trips right, pistol formation, Detmer to throw once again. Looking left, deep ball, left side for Wilson at the 10! Incomplete! Detmer underthrew him just a little, and that was all Diamond Williams needed to catch up to Wilson and bat the pass away. 4th down.
Great job by Donovan to stay with the play and to do so without ever turning his back. He had I guess he timed it in his mind. He knew when that ball was going to get there, and he slapped it away just in time.
Julio De La Garza's first punt and only punt in this game went 56 yards and rolled out of bounds inside the 20, trying to drop this one inside the 20 as well. Wesleyan showing 6 men near the line. Here they come. Angling it towards the pylon is De La Garza. Bounces the 15 and is rolling towards the end zone. I think the Javelinas made contact with it. They downed it inside the 5, but I think this will end up being spotted closer to the 15-yard line. And there are 2 Ram players pleading their case to the officials, saying that ball was knocked close to the goal line by the Javelinas, and there is a discussion going, and they do spot it at the 13.
There was one ref who had spotted, who had thrown his marker down at the 14-yard line, and I guess he decided on the 13.
It looked like the side judge was ready to spot it at about the 1. And it was, I believe, Dylan Petway and Trey Jackson who were arguing their case, and they did get their way. Childs in the Rams on offense one more time. Running left is Jamarcus Jones, and he's tackled at the 12.
Yeah, Jones has had no luck all night long running up that left side.
And it almost seems like you could count the positive runs Wesleyan has had, even the 1-yard run, just the runs for positive yardage by them on one hand. There are so many times their running backs have gotten hit behind the line and have never had a chance to get going. Their offensive line has been unable to keep the Javelina defense off of these runners. 12 carries, -4 yards
Yikes.
for Wesleyan. 2nd and 11. Pistol again with 3 receivers. Hand off Jones trying to get around the right side. Will get tackled at the 10. And that was Caleb Valentine with some help from Alec Lewis. And a timeout called, I believe, by the Javelinas with 1:39 to play. And that is indeed the call. That is their second. So the Javelinas want to save a little time, try and tack on one more score before we hit halftime. 99 seconds to play here in quarter number 2. 35-7 Javelinas. And Nate, we've talked a lot about the problems that Wesleyan has had on offense, but we need to give a lot of credit to this Javelina defense. They have been on point in every aspect of their defensive play. They had one mistake on the touchdown pass by Childs. Other than that, they've shut down this Wesleyan offense every way possible. Their passing game is not working. Their running game has been completely inept. And the Javelinas, especially on the defensive line, have really done a great job getting penetration and getting off blocks.
You're right about that. I don't think since that touchdown we've seen a play from the Rams go for 15 or more yards.
In the passing game, Childs is 2 of 10 with a couple interceptions. In the running game, 13 carries. And the live stats say 13 carries for 0 yards. The Javelinas have run for 128 yards.
Well, they were negative a few minutes ago. And
now it says they're right at 0. 3rd and 13. Ball spotted at the 11. An empty backfield for Childs. Now with a man and a pistol. Handoff and nailed in the backfield and brought down immediately was Trey Jackson.
In the backfield like a flash for the Hogs cemetery, Caleb Valentine.
And the Hogs call their last timeout. A 5-yard loss for Wesleyan. And Gregory Blazer is going to be standing with his feet on the back of the end zone to boot this one away. And that was Caleb Valentine. Just blew right past his man. I don't think Valentine was touched on that play. It was in the backfield before Jackson could try and do anything to evade Valentine's charge.
This is the Valentine who isn't dealing with cramps. And
again, not to bring up last week too many times, but it makes you wonder how that game could have been different if Valentine had been able to play in the entire second half and overtime. When you lose your second best defender, it makes it tough on any defense. And a guy who's as good at Valentine, especially at rushing the passer, is a weapon for any defensive coordinator. Donovan Moore to receive this punt. It'll be Gregory Blazer's 7th. He's averaged 33 yards per boot. And they have nearly blocked one. And very little margin for error for Blazer right here.
Moore standing at the 46-yard line.
And now we get whistles. And I'm wondering if Wesleyan just used a timeout. And sure enough, they did. And you wonder if Wesleyan had the wrong personnel on the field, or if someone forgot to go out on the field for the punt team, because you don't normally see a timeout called right before you're about to punt. You think you'd rather just take the delay of game if all things were even.
Back up maybe a few inches, at least if you're the punter.
Wesleyan, just looking back at the play-by-play, has not had a completed pass here in the second quarter. Their last pass completion was the touchdown pass from Childs to Lamont Monroe. That came with 8:07 to play in the first quarter. So it's been more than 20 minutes of game time that their quarterback has not been able to complete a pass to anybody. Blazer boots it away, and Moore should have plenty of room to return this one. Makes the catch at the 44, drops it, picks it up at the 40, makes a move to the right side, turns upfield to the 45, moves back inside to the 50, head to the 45, left to the 40. He's wrestled down at the 39-yard line. A 21-yard return for Donovan Moore, and with 1:16 to go, looks like there's a flag down on the near side. I was going to say with 1:16 to go. Another great opportunity for Detmer and this offense. But let's check the flag. And for the second time in this game, a penalty wiping out a big return by Donovan Moore.
And credit Moore for the resiliency on that punt return, but that punt was also a booming kick that probably went about, I guess net yards will probably be around 50, but considering that he was standing near the back of the end zone, it was a boomer of a punt. Yeah,
the gross yardage on that punt would be about a 50-yarder, because the spot was the 5-yard line. Moore first bobbled that ball around the 44, went back to the 40 to pick it up. That penalty against Leandre Dever, based on the spot, will put the Javelinas still in good field position at the Rams' 48-yard line. Obviously, Tumuk doesn't have any timeouts left, but 76 seconds is plenty of time to go 48 yards. And if I'm Darren Wilkinson here, Nate, the whole playbook is still open. I'm still willing to run the ball even with only 76 seconds left to go in this half. I'm not throwing out the run plays in my playbook because those plays have been just as effective as the pass plays. There's no reason you can't run the ball against this team based on the way they've run the ball so far in this game and get, say, 10 yards or get enough yards to pick up a first down and let you get that clock stoppage and get it back up to the line to run another play.
If you are Wilkinson, are you doing it? Are you running in every other play? Because, again, you got to factor in the 76 seconds.
I don't think every game. I'm going back to whatever game plan they had coming into this contest. I don't care about the clock. If I think running the ball is going to work, or if I think throwing the ball is going to work, whatever I think is going to put this team in the best position to succeed, that's the approach I would take in the second half. Because you don't want to just throw the ball for the final 30 minutes when that hasn't worked. You also don't want to put the defense in a position where they can make you one-dimensional, just pin their ears back and come after the quarterback. I think just the normal offensive game plan would be the way Wesleyan probably should work over the course of the final half.
I think the other question that they have, after losing by 35 and scoring only 7 points in that game against the Kansas Wesleyan Coyotes is, what is your offense? What does it look like? What are the things that you do well? because they might still be trying to figure that out. They may not know, like Darren Wilkinson and the offensive staff here in Kingsville might understand, okay, we can throw Jeff Carr out there, throw Lopez out there, throw Pellerin out there, and they can eat up some yardage. But perhaps on the West Texas Wesleyan side, they're still trying to figure out who are the guys that we can count on. Where do we need to put them so they can find open space and eat up some more yardage and keep their defense off of the field?
Going back to that point you made about Lopez and Pellerin and Carr, there's a lot of plays left for this Javelina offense. And you have a big game next week against Angelo State. You go back into conference play on the road against the Angelo State Rams. Do you want to put Carr, Lopez, Pellerin in a position where they're exposed to a lot more punishment? Do you want to limit the amount of hits they're going to take in this game and put some of your other guys in to run the football rather than exposing your top three backs to, God forbid, something bad happening tonight?
Well, see, that's something that Coach Wilkinson will have to figure out because, yeah, they've got 30 minutes to figure out what they want to do. You obviously don't want Angelo State to, in addition to, risking these three running backs to injury, you don't want Angelo State to have enough tape on your running backs to where they can see what you're doing and figure out what you're doing and stop it when you guys have when the Javelinas have to make the trip up to San Angelo next week as well.
We have about 7 minutes until we begin the second half of play here at the Javelina Stadium. Nate Cortizo alongside myself, Mark and Sarah. We're going to take one more break here at the half. We'll be right back to lead you into the second half of football here at Javelina Stadium. The score through one half, the Javelinas 38, the Texas Wesleyan Rams 7. We'll be right back on the Javelina Sports Network. Second half just a few minutes away from starting here at Javelina Stadium. 38-7 is our score in favor of Temuque. They lead Texas Wesleyan. And just looking over some scores elsewhere in the Lone Star Conference. West Texas A&M leading Oklahoma Panhandle in the fourth quarter. That score is 42-7, about halfway through the final period. Abilene Christian hosting Angelo State. That fourth quarter has just begun, and Abilene with a 34-24 lead. So Angelo hanging tough against the Division I opponent. As we mentioned, the Javelinas will be in San Angelo next week, and on KTAI 91.1. You can tune in and hear all the action as we bring you Javelina football. Their second Lone Star Conference road game of the season. They will face the Rams. MSU Texas in a battle with the number 2 team in the nation, West Florida, in Wichita Falls. And West Florida, who beat Carson Newman in week 1 by a score of 19-9, they are leading MSU Texas 14-3 at the half in that game. Colorado Mesa, the number 25 team in the nation, is up 14-0 in Portales over Eastern New Mexico. That game is early in the second quarter. And the number 1 team in the nation, looks like they'll probably keep that ranking for at least one more week. They knocked off William Jewell on the road by a score of 27-7. So Texas A&M Commerce starts the year 2-0. A little bit of an easier road for them today than what they saw in week 1 against the Javelinas. Again, 38-7 is our score, and Texas Wesleyan making their way back onto the field as we prepare for the second half. The specialists are already out there, and Avery Charles is out there just below us warming up, and he's appears ready to play in the second half of this one, and bring back in Nate Cortizo. Nate, we got 30 more minutes of football to go. Are there any goals, if you're a Javelina coach, that you would set for this team over the course of the last 30 minutes? Because you pretty much did everything you wanted to do, I'd imagine, in the first half. Well, how do you come out in the second half?
I think, the one thing that we didn't touch on here on our halftime show was, special teams were kind of the iffy part of this Javelina effort in this first half. We obviously saw Julio De La Garza with a kickoff out of bounds. We've seen some uncertainty from Donovan Moore when he's been back to take some punts from Texas Wesleyan. So hopeful are the Javelinas that they'll be a little bit more crisper here in the second half in those areas specifically. Both
teams back out on the field. Now, thank you for tuning in on this Saturday evening as we bring you Texas A&M-Kingsville football in Temuc's home opener, and they appear to be on their way to a victory here over Texas Wesleyan. The next home game for the Javelinas will be their first Lone Star Conference home game in the season. They will play host to Eastern New Mexico on September 22nd. That is a 7 p.m. start time, as the Javelinas will take on the Greyhounds. The Javelinas visited Eastern New Mexico last year and took a 51-34 defeat. But this is an Eastern New Mexico team that does not appear to be as powerful as they were last year when they were receiving votes nationally for almost the entire season. And the Javelina is a very different club than the one they sent to Portales last season. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be back here at Javelina Stadium to bring you 60 more minutes of football.
Eastern New Mexico was, I believe they were picked 3rd in the LSC preseason poll.
Yeah, they were receiving votes in the Lone Star Conference, or I should say in the American Football Coaches Association national poll when the season started, but they lost their first game and fell right out of the national rankings. And as I mentioned before, they are down again tonight. Eastern fell to Missouri S&T on the road on the same night the Javelinas lost to Commerce, and they're still trailing Colorado Mesa, a ranked team, in their home opener right now. Eastern New Mexico will have a tough test next week when they host Commerce. So not an easy slate for Eastern. They lose their first game to Missouri S&T on the road. They host a ranked team in Mesa. Then they host the number 1 team in the nation, Commerce, and after that they have to come here to play what looks like a much improved Javelina squad on September 27th. 15 minutes are on the clock. The Javelinas will receive the second half kickoff. Nick Pellerin and Jeff Carr figure to be the return men for Temuc. Neither one of them has really gotten much of a chance to return so far this season. Commerce did a lot of pooch kicking last week, and obviously we've only seen one kickoff so far today. Carr entered this game with 3 returns for 37 yards. And Jacob Armstrong, the only player with a kickoff return to his credit today. If you remember, Nate, he was the one who caught the kind of onside / pooch kick at about the 41-yard line. So Carr and Pellerin hoping for an opportunity to run one back right here. Blazer ready to blast it away. The Javelina up man all bunched inside the hash, and now they spread out as the Wesleyan coverage team does the same. Carr and Pellerin back on the goal line. Blazer checks his coverage men. And another pooch kick near side, catching at the 30 is Torrey Thomas. Tries to shift to one direction or the other and is bowled over about right where he caught the ball. First and 10, Javelinas at the 32. Thomas tried to fake one way, then the other, but was crashed down upon by more than one white jersey to end that short kickoff return. And one thing to note, Omar Wilkins is back at center. Wilkins left the game in the first half with an injury, but he appears to be okay and is back out on the field. Detmer, play fake to Pellerin as he rolls right. Now looking back left, trying to hit Pellerin on a wheel route. Under pressure, rolling left, escapes the pressure. Now pulls it down, looking to run, and runs out of bounds for a loss. Could have just thrown it away. Detmer takes the sack. It'll be second down. Another good job by him of avoiding the rush.
Yeah, it would have been the smarter decision to just throw it away, but always going to see a play through, even if there's nothing to see.
Sometimes in the heat of the moment, your brain just doesn't work like it would if you had more time to think. Detmer hands off left to Pellerin, cuts upfield, puts his head down and bursts across the 35-yard line to the 36. Third down and 5. Another good run for the Javelinas. Pellerin now with 7 carries for 28 yards. So all 3 Javelina running backs averaging 4 yards a carry. Single back, 2 receivers. Near side, Wilson. Far side is Aaron Dilworth. Deborah handoff. Pellerin up the middle, cuts left to the 40, shakes a tackle, and pushes his way past the marker. Or actually, now they're going to mark him a yard short. Sure, it looked like he reached that first down line.
Yeah.
The referees are going to spot him. Looks like he definitely crossed the 41. They're going to spot him short of the 41. And from our vantage point, I think it looked like to us he had used a second effort to push his way past the marker. The referee said no, but 4th and 1, the Javelinas are going to go for it anyway. And now a whistle and a timeout by the Hogs. And odd that the Javelinas would go for this. So their own territory up by 31. And I have no doubt that they can get 1 yard on this play. The issue is, do you want it to seem like you're kind of rubbing the other team's nose in it when you're up by this many points? And sure enough, here comes De La Garza to punt. And I don't doubt that Detmer and Pellerin and that O-line, that they were lobbying Wilkinson to go for it. But always important to show class, I think, in these kinds of situations as De La Garza rolls left, line drive, really good punt. Williams will take it at the 14. Running left, a great block as Williams crosses the 20. He gets tackled at the 23-yard line. Williams, a 9-yard return. And Avery Childs looking for a change in fortune after hitting on just 2 of 10 passes in the first half of this game. It has been 25 minutes of clock time since Wesleyan's last completion. Back to throw. Deep ball on the left side. Pass is incomplete. Charles was looking for Eric Richards, who was in single coverage with Aaron Jackson.
That's the right idea for Avery Childs in this Rams offense. That was great coverage there by Jackson, but you got to do something. You got to take shots.
Officials marking off a holding penalty.
And that's part of the reason why you take those deep shots. You want to get the Javelinas and force them into some penalties to help them move down the field as much as possible.
There are 3 things that can happen on a pass play, I would think, and if you're an offensive coordinator, 2 of them are good. You can complete it. I should shake that. I guess there'd be 4 things. You can complete it, you can get a penalty, it can be incomplete, or it can be intercepted. Wildcat formation here for Wesleyan. Trey Jackson hands off, and racing ahead is Jordan Griffin across midfield. Griffin taking the pitch on the jet sweep from Trey Jackson. Jackson listed on this roster as a cornerback, but seeing more work on offense than on defense. And a first down for Wesleyan. That one covers 18 yards. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. For the Javelinas on defense, we see Sean Lendez back into the game for the first time tonight after being dismissed from last week's game due to a targeting penalty. He also appears to have a wrap around his left hand.
Pistol and a flag flies. False start. Yeah, with those targeting penalties, you have to sit out the equivalent of a full game. So if you get that penalty in the second quarter, you can't come back until you sit out basically the equivalent of 4 quarters. So many of those suspensions stretch into the next game. And college football taking those head-to-head hits very seriously. But Landez back and ready to go here against Wesley. Another pistol formation on 1st and 15. 3 receivers, 4 Childs. Blitz coming. Deep ball down the right side. And it's caught at the 30.
I believe he...
But the referee obviously, and you're right, Nate, he threw the hat down to symbolize that Brandon Shaw went out of bounds. When he came back inbounds, it's the same as if he didn't catch the ball at all. And we saw a play at that last week against Commerce, where I believe it was Ty Chisholm, went out of bounds, came back in bounds, caught a pass, but the officials ruled he'd been forced out of bounds, so they waived away any penalty or infraction. But not the case there with Shaw. 2nd and 15. Running left is Jackson, and stretches to get to the 47, a 2-yard gain. That 18-yard play before was counted as a completion from Jackson to Jordan Griffin. First completion since the first quarter for Wesleyan. 3rd and 13.
His quarterback rating now at 251. If you just like big numbers, that's where Jackson is at this particular time.
That's Torrey Thomas territory for the Javelinas. He threw 1 pass last year, was a touchdown. I asked him before the season, they can let you throw the ball again? He went, I hope so. He said 1 throw, 1 touchdown. Why not?
I wouldn't want to throw the football ever again. It's never going to be that good, you know?
Can only go down from there is what you're saying, right? Childs to throw on 3rd and long. Looking right over the middle. Picked off! Running away to the 40, to the 30, to the 20. And dancing in for a touchdown is Dynamite Falagata. Childs never saw him. Falagata just slid underneath that route, picked it off, and there was no one in a white jersey who was going to catch him.
A certain 1970s TV character would say Dynamite.
That's before my time, Nate. I'm sorry, but I am aware of what you're speaking of. Earlier we had a reference to 2003, now in the 1970s. By the time this game ends, we'll be in the 16th century.
Yeah.
Extra point by De La Garza is good. And with 11:04 to play, the Javelinas tack on 7 more Fagata with a pick six, and the score, the Javelinas 45 and the Rams 7. And at a certain point, you wonder if Coach Joe Prudhomme just has to take Avery Childs out to save his psyche, his confidence, because you have a quarterback have a bad game like this, especially a collegiate kid. A lot of these kids have a level of confidence that's not as unshakable as the professional athletes. You wonder if you have to take this guy out just so you don't put him in a situation where he kind of gets in his head.
I'm not sure how true this is, but I was looking at our YouTube stream of this broadcast, and there was a commenter that had mentioned that Donovan Isom had been dealing with an injury, and that was the reason, or at least this commenter believes that was the reason why we haven't had a chance to see him all game tonight. So it's going to be Childs in the interim.
Short pooch kick bobbled, and getting ahead to about the 27-yard line is Brandon Reeves. That may be true, but anytime you start diving into comment sections on any website, you're opening up a can of worms. But Childs is still out there. I believe that, they have another quarterback on the roster, does Wesleyan, and that's number 5, Eric Richards. And Richards actually looks like he's heading out to the huddle right now. And now Richards heads back towards the sideline. So based on the roster we have from Wesleyan, Charles and Isom are not the only two quarterbacks. And now Trey Jackson in the Wildcat formation once again.
Richards is still on the field for the Rams.
And the play clock ran out as the back judge will call delay a game. That's the 5th penalty against Wesleyan. They've been docked for 45 yards. The Javelinas have lost 99 yards on 4 penalties.
Ooh, 4 penalties.
Pistol formation, man in motion. Hand off up the middle, and tackled in the backfield is Lamont Monroe. And we are not in the 4th quarter yet. As a matter of fact, we're not even close. We have 10.5 minutes to go here in the 3rd, but the Javelinas keeping their starters in this game, even with a 38-point lead. They have not scored 50 points since their final regular season game in 2016 when they ran up 53 in Oklahoma Panhandle. Trips left for Childs and company. And now Jackson trying to get on the left side. Crosses the line of scrimmage. Jordan Seminot meets him there, along with more than one blue and gold jersey. Dynamite Fagata in there as well. And it'll be 4th down. Or check that, make that 3rd down for the Rams. Trips right in a pistol. Jordan Griffin is the deep back. Childs hands up Griffin. Left side, and Caleb Valentine right there to drop him at the 18. A 5-yard loss. It'll be 4th down and 20.
He hadn't seen a lot of Jackson in the first half, and it appeared he had the big throw earlier in this quarter, and maybe that was a play where you saw that he could be a weapon, but again, more of the same from that Javelina defensive line, just collapsing on this brutal O-line for Texas Wesleyan. That's
3 tackles for loss in this game for Valentine. As we mentioned, he missed most of the second half against Commerce, but after this game, you wouldn't know it by looking at his stats. He's going to have multiple tackles for loss. He's probably going to lead this team in that category. And the punt away is Blazer. Donovan Moore waves everyone away as it lands out of bounds and is caught on the sideline by, I believe, Tyler Wilson. 1st and 10, Kingsville right around midfield with 8:50 to play. And they spot it at the Hog 47-yard line. Javelinas have 45 points and only 11 first downs in this game. And with that, we're going to take a quick break here on KTAI on the Javelinas Sports Network. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is Texas A&M-Kingsville football. (45-7) our score. The Javelinas lead the Texas Wesleyan Rams. As mentioned before break, 11 first downs for the Javelinas in spite of 45 points on the scoreboard. That tells the story of how many big plays, Nate, this offense has had. Because normally you have a team with 45 points on the board. You expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 first downs. But the Javelinas, A, have had a short field, and B, have specialized in a lot of big plays tonight.
The big plays that they've had have obviously come in the running game, and they haven't had a lot of opportunities where they've had to go 70, 80 yards and
we get flags fly as Cade Dial takes his first snap at quarterback. And they call Donovan Moore for a false start. And now Brett Hertel and Connor Perkins come into the game. Three receivers to the left. Pellerin next to K. Dial in the shotgun. Handoff Pellerin. Right side. Cuts left upfield to the 49. Ball came out. Wesleyan says it's their ball. And the officials agree. So the second turnover of the night for the Javelinas, and Wesleyan with a rare opportunity with good field position. They'll get it at their own 48.
If this is just getting this Javelina offense getting used to Cade Dial again. They had the false start on this earlier play, and now the fumble late on that run by Pellerin. But they're trying to reacclimate themselves to a quarterback that they've obviously known, but it's been so long practicing with a lot of first teamers, and there were quite a few of them still out there.
Brandon Reeves in the Wildcat. Now he's joined in the backfield by Trey Jackson. Takes a snap, pitch right to Griffin. He bobbles it, picks it back up, cuts upfield to the 50, gain of 2. Wrestled to the ground by Devontae Williams.
That's a lucky bounce. It fell out of his hand and bounced directly up to his hands once again. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
How long do you think it took him to execute that in practice? Probably a while, right? Second down and 8. 8:15 to go. We are in quarter number 3. Thank you for tuning into the Javelina Sports Network and KTAI 91.1 for tonight's presentation of Javelina football. And another stoppage. Joe Prudhomme wants a timeout. And so with 8:03 to go, the Rams use their first TO. And if you're going back to that fumble by Pellerin, and I hope K. Down isn't starting to wonder a little bit. First he loses his starting job. Now he finally gets into a game. There's a false start, and then the running back hands the ball off, 2 fumbles. But we would expect to see plenty more of K. Dial in this game.
Yeah, I think he'll have plenty of time to prove whatever abilities he can with 23 minutes left in this game and or so, 23:03 to go.
Yeah, there will be plenty of chances for K. Dial to move this offense. And also, it should be mentioned, when he was in there, the first team offensive line was in there with him. They didn't replace him and just put in the second team guys. The offensive line that's been blocking so effectively will still be out there to protect Dial when he drops back to pass. Griffin in the backfield with Childs, trips left, and now Griffin moves back into the pistol. High snap, but pulled down. Griffin running left, trying to turn the corner, but there's Caleb Valentine again. That's a 3-yard loss, the 4th tackle for loss for Valentine tonight.
Another 3-yard loss for number 3. Just relentless. He is not going to, no one's going to stop him. You know, the only one who could stop him is him. You know.
And a performance like this really is going to whet the appetite of Javelina fans for that next game, because obviously a difficult first loss in conference. Now you get another chance to play in conference next week. You go on the road against a good Angelo team that really embarrassed this Javelina squad last year. They put up 40 points on that defense. And now the Havs get to go back to that same spot and try to exact a measure of revenge. And seeing a performance like this, Javelina fans are going to be excited for that game. Griffin up the middle, hit from behind by Valentine, and pushes forward to the 49. That's a run of 4 yards. And another 3 and out for Wesleyan.
I was a little disappointed because they started the ball at or on at midfield, and no passing plays, just run each time. And it was sort of a change from what we saw earlier in this quarter with the deep ball that Avery Childs had thrown that was incomplete. But again, that was an attempt down the field, and they were able to get a holding call against the Habs, but predictable run plays at the middle of the field. You know, they haven't been this close to the end zone in a very long time.
Blazer high snap, brings it down, hits a line drive kick that Moore's going to catch the 11. Moving left, cuts inside to the 15. Tries to cut back to the right and is taken down at the 20. Return of 9 yards by Moore. And yeah, you would think this is the time. Hey, it's 45-7. What do you have to lose? Throw caution to the winds. Let your quarterback throw. Try some weird trick play, something like that. You think that they would just kind of say, forget it. Let's just see what our offense can do. Let's try and have some fun tonight, because I think suffices to say the Rams have not had a ton of fun this evening. You're down 38 points. That's kind of how it goes. But this, I would expect, would be the time when they just kind of try anything. Hand off to Lopez up the middle, running through tacklers to the 31.
As usual.
He's got a first down. And Lopez heading to that total. That bumps him up over 40 yards on just 5 carries. Pistol formation. Lopez and Pellerin in with 3 running backs. The Javelinas used this formation more than once last week. Now, man comes in motion. Ryan Martinez hands to Pellerin up the middle. Tripped up as he crosses the 44. Second down. And the Javelinas with some new receivers in this game. As I mentioned, Ryan Martinez has come in. Tyler Wilson is still in the game. 2 tight ends, Brent Hertel and Kyle Williams. Dial under center. Pellerin takes the hand up the middle. Gets great from behind him, bursts through at the 40, to the 50, right sideline 40, 35, 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown Javelinas! Nick Pellerin goes 65 yards. And that boosts his total to 114 yards. Pellerin ran for over 100 yards twice last season. This is his first time crossing that threshold this year. And the Javelinas jump over the 50-point mark for the first time since 2016. De La Garza's PAT is good again. 5:08 to go in the third quarter. The Javelinas lead 52-7 over Texas Wesleyan. This offense looks like they are far from done, Nate, but this is the effect of a I should say this sound repetitive, this is the effect of an effective running game. The defense gets tired. When the third, fourth quarter runs around, you don't want to hit these guys anymore. And that's when a big run like that can happen. And Pell breaks one for 65.
The Rams don't want to hit these guys anymore, and I'm sure Coach Wilkinson over on the Kingsville sideline doesn't want to throw the ball too much with his backup in there. So you have these factors going against each other, and one of them is one side is going to break in, and the Rams are broken.
Yeah, and you don't want to throw the ball because going back to what we said about you don't want to seem like you're rubbing the other team's nose. You don't want to be a guy who's running up the score. That's always an ugly thing in college sports. So many teams do it because they feel like they need to win by a certain margin against other squads to try and get votes in the ranking or score points in Division I, I guess you'll say, with the College Football Playoff Committee. But it's never a good sight when you see a coach trying to throw the ball when he's up by 40 points or score an extra touchdown in the last 2 minutes of a game that's over. And Coach Wilkinson, I'm sure, wants to give Kay Dial a chance to shake off any rust here in live action, because this isn't like the NFL where you can say, oh, the guy played the preseason against guys that were going 100 miles an hour. In a situation like this would be the best chance for Kay Dial to get live reps. Like we said, in case, God forbid, something happens to Coy Detmer Jr., but you have to kind of balance that because you want to get Dial a few chances to throw, but you don't want to seem like you're running up the score against an overmatched team.
Whether it's a run play or a pass play, and I agree with you about running up the score, the Rams aren't interested. It appears that they're not interested in tackling anybody.
Kickoff taken at the 20. Going to get around the right side to the 30. Turn the corner up to the 35. And pushed out of bounds is Diamond Williams. They're going to give him to the 34. And exactly 20 minutes of football left to go here at Javelinas Stadium. And as you can probably hear, the crowd plenty into this game.
That might be the pizza, though.
First and 10, the ball on the near hash, 34. Childs left flat for Griffin. Cuts to the 35, spins away from a tackler near the 37. That's a 3-yard gain. The third completion of the day for Avery Childs. Childs 3 of 13 for 39 yards.
That reception for Griffin is his third, which is by far, well, at least by a couple of receptions. He is the leading receiver for the Rams tonight.
3 receptions. No one else has more than one, has 23 yards to his credit. And now Wildcat formation again with Jackson taking the snaps. Man in motion is Griffin. Now moving left on an option is Jackson. He gets back maybe to the line of scrimmage. And again, just to go back to this Javelina defensive line, it seems like every time they run the ball, the guys are getting stopped at what looks like the line of scrimmage, but it's not, because the offensive line is getting pushed 2 or 3 yards into the backfield. So a guy you think is the line of scrimmage is actually 2 yards behind the line because the offensive line keeps getting pushed back. Another indication of that, another example of that right there. Jackson trying to burst through the line, couldn't, and ended up getting tackled a yard in the backfield. 3rd down and 8. Childs hands off. Griffin gets close to the 40-yard line. They'll mark him at the 39 after a 3-yard run.
That O-line, as we've mentioned earlier in this broadcast, the Ram O-line has a lot of new faces up front, and when you're dealing with all the experience of that defensive front for Texas A&M-Kingsville, it has been a long night, and they've still got a long way to go.
Blaze are on for punt number 10, averaging 35 yards per punt. Donovan Moore to receive. He's returned 4 punts for 29 yards, and the play clock, I think, ran out on Wesleyan. And sure enough, another flag from the back judge. Gives you time for me to tell you that Moore's longest return of the night stands at 11 yards. Moore, one of the newest players on this Javelina team, came to Temuque from Arizona after spending 2 seasons at Pima Community College. Played quarterback in high school, played running back, caught the football plenty, and also played quarterback at his community college. Catches this one at the 27, moves right to the 30, right sideline to the 40, up the sideline, and he's shoved out of bounds at the 44-yard line. And Moore running the length of the sideline, accepting high fives from his teammates.
That was a confident run, and that's something that I know that we discussed earlier, that Moore specifically needed to be a little bit more certain and sure of himself when he goes back to punt, and that was a confident run from Donovan Moore.
Moore is an emotional guy. He was one of the guys trading barbs with Commerce as the teams ran off the field at the half last Thursday. And just to go back to his time at Pima Community College, caught 79 passes, ran for 478 yards, and threw for 708 yards. So plenty of versatility. We've already seen one Javelina throw a pass this season from the receiver spot. As moving right and tackle at the 48 is Joshua Oglesby. That's his first appearance of the night. Oglesby, a freshman running back from Katy, Texas. But we saw Ty Chisholm throw a pass against Commerce. But Javelinas also have, as I mentioned, Torrey Thomas threw a touchdown pass last year, and Donovan Moore, who played quarterback in college and in high school. So plenty of room for imagination on this Javelina offense as this season progresses. And that was Oglesby's first college carry. He's dot in the I with 2 receivers. Dial calling signal, 2nd and 12. Oglesby again up the middle. Crosses the original line of scrimmage to the 46. That's a 3-yard run.
Oglesby is someone who played at Katy High School in Katy, Texas, and that is a program in this state notoriously for going to the state championship almost every year and winning it. Gary Joseph has done a tremendous job, and he is one of the most respected high school coaches in the state of Texas. So you're getting a Katy Tiger, you're getting a pretty good athlete.
And that was one of the things that Coach Wilkinson and his staff really looked for in recruiting. They wanted guys, A, who came from winning programs, and B, guys who were elected team captains, who were leaders on their teams. Down to throw for the first time, left side for Moore, caught. He's tackled immediately at the 50, so he'll be short of the first down. He was brought down by Jalen King. And De La Garza will come on to punt one more time. And neither Wilkinson nor his coaching staff were happy with the season that this squad ended up with last season. They entered the year receiving votes nationally. They ended it at 4-7. There were a lot of games they felt like they underperformed or underachieved, or things could have gone differently if they'd gotten a few breaks. High snap over the head of La Garza, bouncing at the 15. And La Garza chases it down at the 10. Now picks it up and runs left and punts it. The punt lands at the 48 of the Javelinas and is down there. The line of scrimmage was the 50. So that was a negative 2-yard punt.
Probably the best scenario for a negative 2-yard punt.
Probably the most impressive negative 2-yard punt either one of us have ever seen. And normally in that situation, if you're a special teams coach, you just want a guy to fall on it or kick it out of the end zone and just not let the team turn it into a touchdown. Just take the safety. De La Garza booted it. Good field position again for Wesleyan, but far better than what it could have been. As the third quarter runs out, Griffin picks up 3 to the 45. And the teams will switch sides as we go to the fourth. Not very far to go from 145 to the other. But the score at the end of 3 is the Javelinas 52 and The Texas Wesleyan Rams 7. I mentioned the Habs scored 53 against Oklahoma Panhandle in 2016. They also ran up 56 against UTPB and 51 against West Texas. They also scored 68 against Simon Fraser here in their first home game in 2016. So this team has a long way to go to match some of the milestones they set 2 years ago. But Nate, I want to keep talking about that punt we just saw from De La Garza. Because you talked before about, hey, don't be deceived by this guy's physique. He's an athlete. He's good at what he does. He is an integral part of this team. And he showed every bit of athleticism on that play. He avoided a defender, moved left. And I thought I didn't know if he was going to run with it or just throw it or like pull some kind of a Gary Premian, something like that. And to see him just roll, let them punt it as if nothing had ever happened. Like you talk about composure. That's the epitome of composure.
This is someone that we want to go back to that kick out of bounds on the kickoff that he had. He was very upset with himself, and he knew he should have had a better kick. But this is someone who has like an iron mentality that he is. If he can make something right, he's going to try to do it.
2-yard run by Jordan Griffin. An iron mentality and a short memory.
Oh yeah,
which is so critical for guys in positions like kicker, quarterback, cornerback. You have to be able to just flush things and not dwell on them. I had a friend of mine who used to play linebacker at another D2 school tell me that one of the reasons that he wasn't a better linebacker was he would make a mistake early in the game, and he'd draw on that mistake for the rest of the game and couldn't let it go. And that's such an important ability for any player to be able to just forget about a bad play, move on, wait for the film session to try and address it. You got to be able to put that stuff behind you. De La Garza's done that tonight. Handoff right for Griffin. Hit in the backfield and dropped.
Whoa.
And it'll be 4th down.
Jordan Griffin head hard behind the line by number 41, Chris Henderson. Loss on the play brings up 4th and 7.
And Chris Henderson bolting in to make that stop. And Henderson, another one of these guys getting an opportunity to play today who's not a regular starter. Donovan Moore still back to receive this punt. 13:38 to go. We're in the 4th quarter, 52-7 Javelinas. And a good kick that is fair, caught at the 13 by Moore. Probably the best punt of the night from Blazer.
He fair caught it, but he got knocked down after. I don't know if it's something the refs didn't see and they didn't throw the flag, but
yeah, no flag came down on that play. And that was the Rams have had good field position more than once recently. And I realize they've been outplayed in this game. They're an NAIA team, and they're a program in their second year. They're trying to find their footing, not just as a team, but as a program. I think it has to be said, the play calling recently not very imaginative from the Rams.
Well, not since, we go back to that touchdown in the first quarter. It was bam. That was great ingenuity. Earlier in the 3rd quarter, they were taking risk as well, but now you don't know what you're getting from their play calling.
Oglesby running left, trying to turn the corner on Williams. A flag comes down in the backfield. Oglesby a run for about 8. And Dial clapping as if he expects that flag to be on Wesleyan.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness on defense number 99. So 15-yard penalty for needing to run on the first down.
That dirty flag.
Unnecessary roughness on the defensive tackle Matthew Shelby. And an extra 15 yards tacked on. And Coy Detmer now gets to be the guy on the sideline sending in the signals. Usually that's Cade Dial and Casey Rosalini, but Detmer gets to take his helmet off, relax a little bit, and hold a clipboard. And when you have a big lead, that's got to be an accomplished feeling, kind of a satisfied feeling for a quarterback.
He doesn't have to extend plays anymore tonight.
He doesn't have to worry about running away from big defensive linemen. His day is done. He did his job. His offense played well as Oglesby runs right, has a hold of the 40, and runs over a defender to the 45. A gain of 9.
I know what we've talked about earlier with, it's obviously frowned upon if you were to throw the football in Kingsville's case, because the game is well decided. But, you know, I honestly think that we should see some passing plays from Cade Dowdles just to see what he has this year. Because, again, we talked about how you never know what's going to happen, and he might have to throw the football some if Coy Detmer Jr. isn't available to.
Handoff for Oglesby. Returns the corner right side to cross midfield. Runs out around the 45. And this Kingsville running game, even with a lot of the number ones out of the game, still finding plenty of running room. Kyle Williams comes back in for Connor Perkins. Ryan Martinez and Tyler Wilson have been the main receivers during this drive, as the day appears to be done for Aaron Dilworth and Alan Smith, Jacob Armstrong as well. Dial under center. Oglesby moves left and is drilled in the backfield and dropped for no gain. And second down and 10. And as I mentioned, a lot of number twos in right now for the Javelinas. Kyle Quino has come in at left tackle. Jorge Rios is in the game. Joseph Partito looks like he has moved to center. Three receivers, and Wesleyan jumps offside, but the offender gets back. Now Dial hands up Oglesby, left side. Dives to the 42. And I mentioned before, there were just 3 freshmen on the Javelinas dress roster. Oglesby is one of them. One of the others, player's name we called earlier, Keyshawn Rowe, who was called for a penalty, and Karch Casper, who's the number 2 punter and kicker.
I don't think we've seen a Rowe since that penalty, have we?
I don't believe we have. But 2 of those 3 freshmen are at least getting a chance to get on the field tonight. 3rd and 7. Dial to throw. Under pressure. Rolling right. Being chased. Fumbles the football. It's loose. It's picked up. And running away is Wesleyan. And brought down at the 15-yard line was Ryan Likas. Likas had a touchdown on his mind, but the defensive lineman robbed of his moment as Oglesby, with some help from Justin Johnson, ran him down. And for the second time in this game, Wesleyan with the ball in outstanding field position.
I believe that was a designed pass play for Dial. So.
I think it was supposed to be just a simple one read. He looks left, throws a screen, but it wasn't there. He rolled right and got run down from behind. And even when you're up 45 points, turnovers will make a coach's hair turn gray. Pass right side, incomplete. Childs underthrew Tyler Pullig, the number 2 tight end. And Pullig was open. If he lays that ball over his shoulder in the end zone, that's a touchdown. But Childs and Pullig not on the same page. Three men in the backfield, including Childs. And up Jackson met at the 15-yard line. And dropped right there by Kason Franklin. Franklin, a redshirt freshman, free safety from Cypress, Texas.
Another Houston area kid.
From Cypress Wood High School. You might recognize his name. His dad played football at Arkansas. So good bloodlines in the Franklin family. 3rd and 9, ball spotted at the 15. Childs hands up to Jackson. Hit in the backfield, tackled for a yard loss.
Jackson on the carry. Then down to number 19, Devontae Williams.
Looked like Kevin Scott was the man in the backfield to make the tackle. And Cade Dixon comes out to try a field goal. He was 0 for 1 against Kansas Wesleyan. He missed from 21 yards. This one, a 33-yarder from the left hash. Dixon lining up the Javelinas jump off sides. And that will not give Wesleyan a first down. That'll just make it 4th and 5. We'll also see if it changes Joe Prudhome's mind about trying this field goal, although I would expect him to stick with the 3-point try. So now it becomes a 28-yard field goal. Good snap. Kick is away, and the kick is good. So from 28 yards, Dixon boots one through. The Rams are on the board for the first time since the first quarter with 8:44 to go. In the fourth, the score is the Javelinas 52 and the Rams 10. So, say this, Nate. The Rams will take advantage of both opportunities when they started deep in Javelinas territory. A touchdown and now a field goal. Fourth quarter nearly halfway done, and Kay Dolly would expect to get the chance to lead this offense one more time. And Dahl, I'm sure, certainly wants a chance to throw the ball again after turning it over the last time he dropped back to throw. And looking at the team stats once again, just as lopsided as you would think. 15 first downs for the Havs, 3 for Texas Wesleyan. The Javelinas with nearly 400 yards of total offense. The Rams with 60. The Rams will be back at home next week. They'll host Texas College next Saturday at 7 p.m. while the Javelinas head to San Angelo. San Angelo, the only place in the Lone Star Conference that Darren Wilkinson's football team is visiting for the second consecutive year. And just taking one more look at some scores around the LSC. Mesa has cemented their lead. They're up 31-0 over Eastern New Mexico at the half. So far from the start that the Greyhounds had in mind for this season. In Wichita Falls, MSU Texas has come back to tie up West Florida at 17. That game's about midway through the fourth quarter. West Texas finished off Oklahoma Panhandle 42-7. Abilene Christian defeated Angelo State 41-24. And again, that's where the Havs will be next week in San Angelo. And as I mentioned earlier, Commerce coming away with a victory on the road against William Jewell. A pooch kick to the left side is taken at the 30, ahead to the 35, and taken down at the 38-yard line. Was the Javelina returner. And 8:38 to go. Kay Donald set to lead the offense one more time.
First down, Hawkins, ball down on the 37-yard line.
Odd formation with Oglesby behind. Dial Oglesby gets the handoff. Jukes to the right, upfield to the 40. Tackle there, a 3-yard run.
Oglesby on the carry. Gain of about 3, brings up 2nd and 7.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at this point in the ball game that we haven't seen Wyatt Trahan, because he did get some looks last week, I believe, against the Lions of Commerce.
I mean, this is just such a deep running back group. I'm sure these coaches are anxious to get a freshman like Oglesby the opportunity to play. Oglesby left side of the line. gains 2. It'll be 3rd down and 5. We are under 8 minutes to go here. Kingsville nursing a 42-point lead. So unlike last week, a stress-free 4th quarter, you would think, for this Javelina team.
Here's a 3rd down and a long 4.
And sure enough, that is Joseph Partita at center for the Javelinas. Armando Castillo still in the game at guard, and Justin Johnson in the game at tackle as well. Oglesby right side has a hole, bursts through it. He's across midfield, 45, through a tackler to the 38. Another 1st down run for Joshua Oglesby. That's his 10th carry of the game, and that was his longest run of the night. One more, he'll lead this team in carry, or be tied for the team leading carries. Oglesby gets it again, tripped up in the backfield. A loss of 2. Oglesby with 11 carries for 56 yards. That last run, 1st down run, a 19-yarder. And now Oglesby goes out. And Luis Lopez is in. Wilson, Martinez, and Perkins are the 3 wide receivers as Dial is in the pistol on 2nd and 12. Dial the throw. Looking left. That's Martinez at the 30. Cuts back inside 25. To the 20. To the 15. He's flipped upside down. And Martinez covers 25 yards.
By far the longest completion of the night for Cade. Now 2 for 2 on the evening.
That's the 3rd longest play of the night for the Javelinas, at least via the pass.
That's hard to believe. Oh, via the pass. Got you. Yep.
There you go. Hand off to Lopez. He's tackled in the backfield. No bouncing off any defenders right there. Zaylen Long got in and became maybe the first Rams tonight to take down Lopez
cleanly.
On initial contact, I guess you would say. 2nd and 12.
2nd and 12.
Big night for the Javelinas on the ground. They have run for 240 yards. They're averaging 6 yards per tote. Now the pass again, looking left. Tries to run out of a sack, it does. Rolls right, looking for Lopez. Way back in the pocket. Throwing for Martinez, caught at the 8. And he goes out of bounds right there. So Dial making like Coy Detmer, running away from some pressure and finding an open man. 3rd down and manageable.
It's a pretty good impression.
Make it 4 yards. I mean, both Dial and Detmer under 6 feet tall. They're both under 200 pounds. Neither one of these guys is the big statuesque kind of pocket passer you see so many times in Division I. But both of them plenty mobile in the pocket, and these coaches, I think, trust both quarterbacks to throw the football. Perkins in motion, now 3 receivers left, and we get flags flying. And I wonder if the play clock ran out. Or maybe the Hams got a timeout first. We'll see, because I saw the trainers run on the field, and usually that means a timeout. If there's a delay of game, you don't get to bring the water bottles onto the turf. That's a signature timeout tell. So it will still be 3rd and 4. 4:42 to play. The Javelinas looking for one last touchdown. K. Darrell in this offense looking to go home happy. Javelinas with 5 rushing touchdowns today. 2 by Lopez, 2 by Pellerin, 1 courtesy of Jeff Carr. And as I was just thinking, I wonder if they would let the freshman Oglesby try and score the touchdown, and here he comes. Ball on the near hash, the right hash, as the Javelinas go left to right. Oglesby and Lopez in the backfield. 3 receivers for a dial on 3rd and 4. I would expect a run right here, but we'll see. In motion, Martinez left to right. And the horn sounds for no reason. Dow to throw. A flag down. Dow throwing for the end zone. He overthrew his man. We'll check the flag. That's the second time we've had the horn sound for no reason.
Flags on the play.
We will check the penalty, but I would expect it would be against the Javelinas and would subsequently be declined. And that's exactly the signal that Paul Duckworth, the defensive coordinator, is giving to the officials. So somebody was supposed to be on the line and wasn't. And the Javs are going to go for this on 4th and 4. Martinez and Perkins left, with Perkins the slot man. Single coverage right is Wilson. Offset eye with Lopez operating as the fullback. They give it to Oglesby, trying to cut off the left side. He'll get nailed in the backfield for no gain. And the Javelinas will turn it over on downs. So here's a story for a game that's a blowout like this, Nate. So 52-10 is the 4th quarter. I mentioned Oglesby. I'm thinking to myself, you wonder if they let the freshmen try and score the touchdown, because it's his first collegiate action.
Sure. See
if he can get in there for his first score. There was a game you might have heard of that was played over 100 years ago between Georgia Tech and a school called Cumberland College.
Oh, yeah.
And for those who don't know, Georgia Tech won that game 222-0. And you can look, as the former baseball manager Casey Stengel would say, you can look it up. So there's a story in this game I heard via a YouTube video by the name of this guy named John Boyce. He makes great YouTube videos about stuff like this. Go check him out if you have the chance. And as they were during the course of this game, Tech brought in this running back who had never scored a touchdown. And apparently the team liked to make fun of him a lot for never scoring. And in the previous game, before they played Cumberland, they brought him into the game with the ball on the 1-yard line. They gave him the ball 3 straight plays, and the offense just laid down and let him get clobbered 3 straight plays.
Yikes.
And then they brought another guy in to score the touchdown on 4th down. So against Cumberland, they had the plan to do the same thing. They brought the guy in, they gave him the ball, and everyone just got out of the way. And we're expecting the Cumberland players to just tackle him. But for some reason, the Cumberland players did the exact same thing. They just fell down, and because of that, this guy ended up getting to finally score a touchdown. So that's what I was thinking about when they were bringing in Joshua Oglesby on 3rd down to see if he could try and score. Handoff right side to Griffin. He turns the corner, and it's run out of bounds at the 12.
I'm more impressed that you shouted out John Boyce on a broadcast.
Mm-hmm. So he's, like I said, he's a guy that makes really interesting YouTube videos. I think he used to work, I don't know if he still does, for SB Nation.
I think he still does, yeah.
Makes a lot of videos that I think cover some pretty fascinating topics. 4 minutes to go. We are in the 4th quarter. It's 52-10. The Javelinas lead the Rams. Hand off to Griffin, and he is dropped at the 10. That's a 2-yard loss. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Back up at the line of scrimmage. It's a 3rd and 8.
Single setback behind Childs. Griffin right side will get tackled at the 16-yard line. And that, by my count, that's a 6-yard run. That's the longest run by Wesleyan tonight. And with the clock ticking down under 2.5 minutes, and Blazer on for his 12th punt, you'd expect Connor Perkins to just catch this punt. And then Cade Dowd to come on and kneel it down 3 times. Blazer with a short kick that's going to bounce in Wesleyan territory and roll to the 40-yard line. So with 1:58 to go, the Javelinas will probably come on and kneel down 3 times. And it actually looks like it might be Casey Rossellini who's getting the chance who will get the chance to take these final 3 snaps. Rossellini started last season, I believe, as the 5th string quarterback, as the Javelinas had Connor Smith, Cade Dial, Bo Riley, so maybe he was the 4th string QB. And sure enough, it is Rossellini under center. Oglesby dots the I. And they give it to Oglesby. Runs up, turns upfield to the 45 to the 50, and gets to the 49-yard line. That's a first down.
Mark, what do you think the lessons are the lessons that could be learned from a game like this if you're on the Texas Wesleyan sideline?
The lessons that could be learned, that is a really deep topic, Nate. I like to leave things, not to deflect them, I like to leave things like that to the head coaches. And Oglesby up the middle for maybe a yard. Second down. So 3 Javelina quarterbacks getting the chance to play in this game. Oglesby is going to lead the Javelinas in carries tonight. That was his 14th attempt. Nick Pellerin finished the night with 11. Pellerin also ran for 108 yards, 65 of them coming on 1 rush. And now we get a whistle by the line judge and a timeout by Wesleyan. And that, maybe it's just me. That seemed like a really strange point in this game to call a timeout. That almost reminds me of the time, I think it was 2 years ago, when James Franklin of Penn State called a timeout to ice the kicker for, I think it was Akron, when his team was up 56-0. Might not have been Akron. I can't remember exactly who it was, but his team was up 56-0 with like 5 seconds to go, and they were playing, I believe it was an FCS squad. And
non-conference game?
What's that?
Non-conference game?
Exactly. And the team brought out their kicker to try about a 30-yard field goal, and Franklin called a timeout to ice the kicker in hopes he would miss the field goal with the score 56-0. And one of my favorite moments from a guy some fellow people from New Jersey might know, Mike Francesa, one of his storied rants was against James Franklin after he called this timeout to ice a kicker up 56-0. Oglesby left side to the 40, left sideline 30 to the 25. And if there was another couple minutes left in this game, Oglesby might top 100 yards. Frankly, I'm surprised the Javelinas are still running plays here, not just taking a knee.
Did we call this a 4-headed monster in the backfield?
I think we have to let Oglesby do a little bit more before we start talking about that. He's got 3 seniors to compete with, or make that 2 seniors and a junior in Carr. And now finally Rossellini will take a knee with 57 seconds to go. So Oglesby is going to finish with 15 carries for 89 yards. As a team, Kingsville 275 yards on the ground. An impressive performance in Kingsville's home opener as they beat Texas Wesleyan. Again, the Javelinas will be in San Angelo next week, a 6 p.m. start time for that game, as the Hogs resume Lone Star Conference play. The next time they're at home is September 22nd, 7 p.m. back here against Eastern New Mexico. And as the final seconds tick off the clock, we're going to take one more break. We'll come right back and wrap this whole thing up neat and tidy and get you set up for next week in San Angelo. We'll be back in 1 minute. This is the Javelina Sports Network.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
A 42-point win in Texas A&M-Kingsville's home opener as they defeat Texas Wesleyan by a score of 52-10. Mark and Sarah along with Nate Cotiso. And Nate, we talked before about how we feel like this is kind of a no-win situation for a team like Kingsville because you're facing a team everyone expects you to beat, but when you're in that situation, all you can do is go out and do what the blue and gold did tonight, win by 42 points. Their offense hit on all cylinders. Their defense was suffocating all night long. I know this is a cliche, but really a positive all-around performance from this squad.
Without a doubt. And again, as we said earlier, I think the special teams was the biggest question mark halfway through this game, and the way that Moore was confident returning punts in the second half really changed my mind.